Tonight, we assess the achievements of the present administration in Edo State and what lies ahead of who Governor Obaseki's successor will be. This is Plus Politics. My name is Nyamguru Agaji. For the past 23 years, the political space has largely been dominated by the People's Democratic Party and some of the constituent parties that formed the All Progressive Congress, while others like Labour Party were seen merely as participants. Prior to the 2023 election, the Labour Party's victory in major elections was when Dr. Olusegun Mimiko became the governor of Ondo State. He served 2 terms on the party's platform. Tonight, we will be moving our attention to Edo State, and joining us to discuss this live is Chief Daniel Egongon Matthew, governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Edo State. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure and honor. By the way, my full name is Daniel Egongon Akwimokan Matthews.
Well, that's quite a mouthful.
I know.
If you would allow me, I'd just call you Daniel.
Daniel's perfect with me.
Very good. Okay. Now, Edo State is where we're putting our attention. And eventually, even though we've talked about Mimiko being someone who won a Labour governorship election under the Labour Party, we also know that the alliance that Labour had with other parties gave Oshimole his first tenure as a governor in Edo State. So, more or less, Labour germinated in Edo State long before other states. But what's the situation right now?
Let's just put one thing clear. Labour Party is an entity of its own. Oshimole was a Labour leader, not a party leader. Labour as a Labour entity, as a Labour force. However, Labour Party has been growing ever since and forming their own identity. And as regards to Edo State, Labour Party is the primary party to be beaten right now in Edo State. And I think Edo State Labour Party have established themselves successfully well. And although we may have a different party as in terms of the governor at the moment, but I can assure you that when it comes to next election, Labour Party will definitely present a stronger candidate and possibility of winning the candidacy or the governorship.
But when you talk about Labour Party being the party to beat in the next election that is coming in 2024, right?
Yes.
What happened in the previous elections, the just concluded elections, didn't show that Labour Party was like the number one?
It's strange because we have to be very careful and choose our word wisely. We know the political imagination or machination that went across the country, all over everywhere, and we know the trickery of electioneering that happened. Having said that, I will be the first to say, in the next coming election, with the opportunity of people like me who will declare our candidacy to run, we will do things differently and make sure we win gallantly and fairly. If we conduct a fair election, I'm not saying we haven't, but with all the discrepancy that I've shown, we would definitely have a better result, without doubt.
Okay, well, we'll come back to Labour and Labour matters in the course of the program, but let's just look at Edo State generally. And for someone like you, for instance, that intends to run for governor, I'm sure you have been able to identify the problems that Edo State has. So speaking generally about Edo State, what are these problems that you think need solving in Edo State?
I think Edo State problem could be peculiar, but not very peculiar to just Edo State. It's a common problem across most of the country. We have a burgeoning population of young people within the 18 to 35, and Edo State have one of the youngest population growth. I see everywhere you go, you see the mass population growth. We also have education deficiency in terms of assimilation in Edo State education system. We do have robust education platform all over across Edo State, but the engagement of the youth with the education system is very limited. There's a table that came out. Edo State is not even on any of the list of the top 10 active participants of education system. One of the vision we have, as in Labour Party or myself, is to look at education differently. The tertiary education, most especially, the tertiary education is the primary and secondary school. To look at it differently.
Let's just identify the problems now. And
Okay.
when we get to the solutions, we'll find out how you intend to do it, or any other person should do it.
Absolutely. One is the education system, and look at the way we reorganize the education system. Another one is the small business financing. You see, if you're at the top of the food chain, you have access to loan. You have access to bank support or financial support through family and everything. But majority of the people that keep the commerce going are below that poverty line, but they don't have access to credit. So what we want to do is to create a microfinance. I think no solution like problem. It's access to microfinancing of the low, smaller business people. Another one we should look at is entrepreneurship. Rather than building the next generation to job seekers, why not start looking at technical skill with the microfinancing to be self-employed, starting their own business, from an IT to engineering. One of the key elements I noticed with the burgeoning youth is start looking at social entrepreneurship training, skills that allow you to be self-employed, establish your own business, develop your own. Another problem is lack of proper functional of government parastatals. There's no, across the board, many of the government parastatals don't know how to operate on a commercial element. Not, when I say commercial, not necessarily mean profit making. Commercial means the efficiency of government working, whereby the productivity and the outcome of it is commercially run. For instance, if you want to get a Nigerian passport, let me just like the commercial bigger scale. Why do you have to go in to do a register? They ask you to come back on a different day to do capturing, then a different day before your passport comes. It's a total lack and waste of time, when that could be done systematically in one day. For you to renew your passport should not be more than a couple of days or a week. For you to get a fresh passport, maybe doing some checks and everything, should not be more than 2 weeks. But if we can narrow that gap down, it means the passport office can produce more passports. It means by them producing more passports, they generate more income. It means they generate more income, they have more money to spend on the facility to speed up even the process even more. Now, if you take it to a state level, same process works. We just have to look at our government parastatals and put the social commercial enterprise energy into it, or social commercial enterprise business process in it. I remember when I went to Egypt with a company called Selika, we look at the Egyptian government, and not just the government, the government parastatals, and we're doing training for government officials on how to operate not as a private sector, but as a commercial driven center. Not necessarily for profit making, but for efficiency and productivity and proper outcome, targeted outcome. You know, that's why we have so many ghost workers in the civil servant, because there's no target, there's no efficiency monitoring, there's no productivity guide. You come to work, you do whatever you want, you go. Where's the outcome? Where's the productivity level? How many people applied for passport this week? How many of those passports have been processed? Who is checking that? Where's the quality control? What's the outcome? Where's the revenue generated? How is the income spent? Is it reinvested to speed up the process? That's commercial thinking. Like a private sector. In the private sector, if you own your own business, you know if you earn 10 naira, you know the whole 10 naira is not yours. Maybe out of that 10 naira, probably about 2 naira is your profit. The rest 8 naira is consumed by the business. Salary, expenses, and also investment in developing the business. But in government enterprise, they don't see it as a commercial entity that every money they make have to be regenerated to make the service more efficient. This is the thing. We can also look at community development. There's a major problem with community development, most especially in Edo State. You understand? One of the things is mass movement. For instance, look at community. If we can connect every local government, we have 18 local governments in Edo State. If we can connect those 18 local governments with fast-speed rail, people, commerce, and people will move interlink quickly. The level of people moving to the urban area will dissipate because they can easily travel in between. Goods and service will be able to move freely. I can live comfortably in Uromi, in my village, and still be able to travel to Benin to work, or even send my goods to Benin and work. Let's look at commercial way we can move mass movement of people and goods within the state. Railway. We don't even need to look at foreign investment for it. We can do government bonds. Or we can do partnership where they build, they run, they service and maintain, and they give the state percentage without borrowing money from anywhere.
I guess identifying the problems, we'll have to come with the solutions, because that's what I'm seeing.
Apologies, I'm driving into the problem are very obvious to many people.
We'll continue with that, but
yes.
I'm just trying to get a picture of what Edo State is. What kind of potential does Edo State have as a state? You know, apart from what it gets from the federal government and all the things that we have identified before, what are this potential that we have not seen being tapped but are available in Edo? There's
multiple elements to Edo State. If you look at the youth, the burgeoning youth, it's a ripe state for industry to go in. We have a very advanced level of youth who are very socially conscious and very, very exposed, whereby they're very trainable and as well very adaptable to any industry that goes in there. The labor force is ready in Edo State. If any industry were to go in there, for instance, if I was to happen to be the governor of Edo State, one of the key things I'm going to do is to make sure all the public service officers, state, local, even the urbans, everything will be used in Nigeria. Say, for instance, like the car. Innocent Car, for instance. There's another company, Innocent Car, not brand promoting. In order for us to develop the economy faster and also to generate things, if I approach Innocent and say, come build a factory in Edo State, we have the youth, we have the labor force, we have the opportunity for it to grow. Build a factory. In order for us to support your factory from growing, all the government officials, regardless the political party they belong, from the local council to ward chairman, all the way to the governor, all the urbans, all the officials, we will buy your car, and every 4 years, Mr. Innocent, we will even trade it off. In essence, we exchange the car, we sell it to the market on auction. General public have access to buy. We rejuvenate that economy. That's one aspect of it. Another thing that we need to also promote. Edo State has vast level of cultural display, cultural history, tourism. There's so many fascinating places for tourism. From the Obas Palace, the historical element of Edo Kingdom itself. Tourism is one thing that's yet to be tapped. Forget any naysayer they say about Edo State. Yes, although it's true, they joke that we have our own 505, we don't need the airport, we fly. Yeah, it's good. That's a good fairy tale. But tourism is the biggest catchment area that we need to develop in Edo State. The Gele Seaport is another one. It's ripe. And we are close to other states that big ship can come in, which is well developed. You understand? There's so many opportunities. Even look at what we at one point, the palm kernel, we're one of the biggest producers of palm kernel. There's still vast arable land in Edo State that today we can turn into £1 billion or dollars a production of palm kernel. And there's a multiple essence. If I become the governor of Edo State, I will give grant to those to farm palm kernels.
Calm down. Calm down. We'll get there. But what do you think is the reason all this potential have not been tapped? What are those elements, all those things that are standing against these things being achieved in Edo State?
This is it. It's a common problem with Nigeria. We have good leaders. We have good leaders who are very good in managing things. And I want to say this directly to every Nigerian out there. We have good leaders. It's not that we have leaders, we're suffering from leaders. We have good educated people. But the problem is we lack visionaries. You see, to be a visionary, you don't have to have all the education in the world. You just have to be a man of purpose, a man of intention, and a man of goal. And that's what we're lacking. Because Nigeria is the most educated people in the whole of Africa. And I can assure you there's no part of the world you will go, you will not see a burgeoning level of educated Nigerians. In fact, in America, one of the top minority vast educated people in America are Nigerians. Same in Europe. So we're not suffering from lack of educated people. In Nigeria, we not suffer from lack of educated people either. So it means we have educated people. We're not suffering from leaders. We have leaders. We have great pastors. We have great imams. We have great kings. It's not we're suffering from leaders, but visionaries. Like Moses said, I've been to the mountaintop and I'm back. I have seen the glory of God. We need visionaries. He said, I'm taking you to a place that's flowing with milk and honey. We need visionaries. He said, when the people who came back, who went to spy Israel, when they came back, they said, some naysayers, and the others said what? It's a place flowing with milk and honey. We need visionaries with sense of purpose, with sense of identity and pride of who they are as a citizen and as a nationality person. First and foremost, I'm an Edo man. I'm an Esa man, to be precise, from Uromi. My father is from Amedosha. My mom is from Ukoni. Purebred Esa man. And I'm damn proud of it.
Yeah, and there's still that fight also that the next governor should come from Esa. So
I would concur to that selfishly. However,
yeah,
I would say let's agree to that on principle because it's right for that. However, I also want to add a little bit to that. Not just because I'm an Asa man, not just because I'm from Uromi, not just because I fit the profile, but please, if you're going to support me because I have a clear vision and a clear purpose, why I'm running and why Edo State deserve somebody with a vision for the state.
Okay, now, you talked about when we were opening, you said something about Labour Party being the party to beat in Edo State. We have seen, you have an incumbent who is PDP. We've seen a very vibrant opposition in the APC, even though they have some problems right now. Gale of suspensions here and there that is happening in Edo State in APC. But we still have two very major parties, and there is the Labour Party that you belong to. What are the chances of smaller parties? Because for now, we still call the Labour Party a smaller party compared to the APC and the PDP in Edo State. I mean, having won two senatorial seats, that's the APC, and won like 5 or, so, or more than that for the House of Reps, and then in the State Assembly and all that. But Labour Party still came like third. Now, what are the chances?
There's a great saying that says it's not the size of the dog, but rather than the fight in the dog. Right, it's true. We may have not have performed as expected, but you have to look at the variables why that happened in Edo State. You have to look at the electioneering that happened that led to that. Let's just put that aside. But I want to assure you that as Labour Party in Edo State right now, we're the biggest party in Edo State. Right.
Will the national fight, because that's what we are seeing, will the national fight not affect even Edo State? Because I need to even know what is going on at the national level.
Right. I'm going to make this very clear. Abure is the chairman of Labour Party and it will remain so. And we need to be very clear when we say there's a fight at the national, there is no fight at the national level. We have a group of, this is a reputable, respectable man. So as an Asa man, we respect our elders. So I would not like to use colorful words to describe them as a person, but their act is borderline anti-democratic and terrorist. You cannot impose yourself on millions of people and declare even the judgment. I mean, we're not in Banana Republic. Labour Party is a social enterprise and independent party. We have a due process. If you think you want to challenge the chairman, go through the due process and challenge the chairman. And the judge that gave a judgment to vacate a social enterprise independent organization to tell them that their chairman cannot operate, that judge lacked legal wisdom. In fact, that judge have acted on a legal imbecile judgment that he has passed because he has made himself the administrator of a social enterprise party and a judge. We have a system. How we address issue. Those who also went to court to present whatever evidence they have no legal standing to do so. Are they presenting on behalf of the party or are they presenting as the injured party? It's only an injured party could say, oh, this person did this to me, I'm going to court to a redress. No, or are they the legal representative of the party? There's a process. They should report any qualms they have to the party administrative. They look into evidence. If they feel there's a criminal case or there's a civil case or there's any case at all, they will address it with the party committee. The party committee then take action and then address the chairman, either to tell the chairman you step down or this answer this query, not the court, not the right panel. And no one can come and impose themselves. It's like saying, for instance, oh, we don't like the current administration. As such, group of us will decide we're going to go to court and impose ourselves all over the country as the head of the president. You can declare today you are the president of Nigeria because you don't like the present administration. We have a way we elect our president. We go through election. We go through the process. If the process may not be perfect, but it's the best democratic system we have. Same in the party. We have a way we choose the chairman. We go through an election process. There's a Congress. Go through. If you don't like the chairman, then go through the process. Test your popularity. If you have a grievance with the chairman, put it to the Congress of the party. If they are the injured party and you think the party have not addressed it, then you can take it to the court. But this group of terrorists have now hijacked the old legal system and they've now gone to an imbecile legal judge to pass a judgment.
Those are really strong words.
Because it doesn't. Those
are really strong
words.
We
are not in banana republic. It's not strong word. We have to apply law and common sense. How can a judge tell a social enterprise chairman that he cannot operate based on group of people bringing a case that does not directly affect them on behalf of a party where they have no standing? Until now, you and I can decide, oh no, PDP or APC, we think PDP did this, as such, we are going to court. There's a legal process. Labour Party have a legal team. If the legal team felt that the chairman have committed any offense, it's the legal team on behalf of the party, who is the injured party, we go to court to charge the chairman of any offense, not some cowboys, some terrorist self-appointed leaders. I vehemently stand with Abure. Abure is the current and will remain the chairman of Labour Party. And those who are ganging up against Abure are anti-democratic. And that's not how we should operate in a civilized society or in a civilized party who want to form the government. It's just wrong. These are intelligent people. Please, I beg them, apply intelligence and common sense. And the judge should respect the jurisprudence of the law. Cannot operate outside the law. You cannot pass judgment outside the law. Abure have not been charged of anything, accused. I'm not painting Abure a saint or an angel or making him righteous than he is. But Abure is a man of integrity and honor. Until proven otherwise, he is the chairman. And that should be respected. There is a process. We have a process. If you cannot say you are a Labour Party person and a true believer of democratic process, and then want to override all that to serve your self-interest. Whose interest is that?
Okay, well, it's established. As far as you are concerned, Abure remains the chairman of Labour, national chairman of Labour Party. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll just take a short break, and when we return, we'll still be talking with a governorship hopeful in Edo State under the umbrella of Labour Party. Stay with us.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is Plus Politics on Plus TV Africa, and my name is Nyamgul Agaji. We are here with a governorship hopeful of Labour Party in Edo State, and he's simply Daniel Matthews. He has a long name within, so I begged him to just call him Daniel Matthews, and he accepted graciously. Thank you very much. Okay, now we've been able to identify the problems of Edo State. Not all of them, because I know that even if we're talking about just the problems that are in a state, not just Edo State, it could take a whole day. But some of the things that we have identified, and the wonder I had was, what is the present administration doing? What have they been doing in the past maybe 24 years even, since democracy returned to Nigeria, that we still have these problems? You know, what has been the attempt of the previous administrations and the present one at solving these problems that we have identified?
It's strange to say that because we can look at it across the country as well. Because like I've said earlier, leadership is the problem we have. And fellow Nigerians, most especially fellow Edo people, we don't lack, visionaries is a problem we apologize. We don't lack leaders. And the problem of that is, the reason why I say we lack visionaries is the solutions are already there. The solution to this problem are there. Once you identify a problem, you already have 50 to 80% of the solution in your hand. Let's pick education, for instance, which I'm very passionate about. My background is in education and public health and development, and funding and development. If you take education, we can look at education from the tertiary education, the primary schools and secondary school, the technical education and the advanced education. I think the solution we need to do is to get the mindset away that the government can run this efficiently, single-handedly under the administration of one person in the ministry and the commissioner of education. It's not working. It's only a fool do the same thing and expect a different result. What I would like to see is to have a social enterprise education where the government and private entity, private organization work together to now run the schools. Rather than you setting up a private school and charging gazillion unaffordable money for parents, the government know how much it costs in a public school per student. If they don't know, then they should know. Then why not allow each, say primary school, the Parents Association, give them the right, the power to run the school. Employ the headmasters, everybody all the teachers have to be registered with the state to have child protection, put in a safeguarding system. Let parents that belong to that school run the school, like a social enterprise. Or let private organizations who are specialized in education work with the government to run the school like a commercial enterprise, not for profit making, like a private school, whereby the funding, rather than you giving the local chairman who sit on the money to give the local commissioner who sit on the money, you give it to the school. The school board, they form a board. They know for the whole year, this is the budget. This is the budget for maintenance, this is the budget for staff, this is the budget for any other social curriculum activity. Now, they manage the budget.
Let me get one thing straight so that we don't misunderstand. Your funding seems to give some kind of light to the fact that you may not respect the local government authority. Because if you have funding and you're giving straight to the school, bypassing the chairman, it doesn't show respect for the third tier of government.
No, that's not what I meant.
So explain.
Let me explain that. That's not what I meant. It's not showing respect to the chairman. Each local government chairman are responsible for the education in the local government.
Yeah.
That money is readily available for them. Rather than the local government chairman now paying the salary of each teacher through the local government, he pays to an organization that manages each school. He pays them either quarterly, preferably, or monthly. Quarterly preferably, and say, this is the budget from the local government, from federal government to state to local government. Each local government now look at how to invest and develop their education system. Do we need to build more schools? How do we go about improving the schools? Those are the things we look at. Look at education. Another key point, in a way to merge and bring the young growing population in Edo State to a parity. Start community college. There's a lot of community college, but the community college I want to focus on is community college that focus on skills. When I say skills, I'm going to leave the social science study out of, like business admin, accounting, out of community college. Not because they're not good, they need it, but skill, from engineering skill, IT skill, computer programming, coding, to bricklayer, to hairdressing, to electrician, technical skill. But this is the difference of what I would do. That is where I come with the microfinancing. What I would do is to set up a state microfinance bank that anybody who graduate after 2 years will get a loan with very minimum percentage of less than 5%. You get a loan to go and establish yourself. If you are a mechanic, bricklayer person, or electrician, you and two of you can come together and get a loan to set up your own business rather than looking for employment.
Okay. Have you done primaries?
We're yet to do the primaries.
Okay, good. So now we're talking Labour and other parties. We're talking Labour, we're talking APC, we're talking PDP and all that. Now, the concern I raised earlier is the chances of Labour Party, particularly. Let me not talk about other parties. I know Labour Party because you are here. Now, we have contending for this position in Edo State under the APC, people like Ezeyamu, Pastor Ezeyamu, who has been there for a very long time, and so many other names that we're seeing that are popping up, people who are interested in this position. Then we have the incumbent, who is of the PDP, having the muscles of the government. Whether we like it or not, incumbent governors use the resources of the people, of the government, to run an election. Whether we say it or we don't say it, that is a fact. Okay, so now Labour is coming as an underdog. And then you said that the system was rigged, more or less, in the last two elections.
I wouldn't say it was rigged. I think it was questionable.
Well,
I believe in the democratic system.
Semantics.
Nigeria.
It's a matter of semantics. Okay,
Yeah.
it was questionable.
Yes,
now,
at best.
That system is not going away soon. What do you intend to do as a party to make sure that you excel more than you did in the last two elections?
Very good question. You see, change is in the way. From the deepest valley in Edo State to the highest mountain, to the widest street to the lowest village. Every aspect of Edo State is ripe for change. And change is coming like an unstoppable train.
But they were ripe before the presidential and governorship elections.
And it's still growing. And I'm going to tell you something that might blow your mind. You see, Ezeyamu and all those people, they can run. By the grace of Almighty God and by the grace of my ancestors, I know I'm going to win the primary, and if I was to run against them, we will win in the landslide.
What if you don't win the primaries?
I will win the primaries.
No, but what if you don't win the primaries? I'm talking Labour now.
No, Labour Party.
But Labour Party will still be in the fray, but it doesn't have to be.
Let me blow your mind. This might shock you, but not shock me. Everything I lay my hands upon, God has given me the grace to prosper in it. For because I do not desire for my self-interest, but I desire for the greater good and the greater purpose, for a greater calling. For I have not called myself to victory, but God has called me to victory. As such, I have no doubt, no iota of doubt in me, by the mighty grace of God and by the grace of my ancestor. Victory is not only defined by you taking the first place. Victory is defined by the purpose that you stand for. And that's why I would win, without a doubt.
So your purpose is the Labour Party's purpose, or Labour Party's purpose is your purpose? What is it?
My purpose is Edo people's purpose. Edo people's purpose is my purpose. For a change, for a better government, for a functional society, for the value and rule of law, for integrity and an open government, where somebody cannot die from just having a malaria that is curable by 1 or 2 tablets. Cannot afford to send their child to school because they have no means to sustain their school, or cannot even have 3 square meals when we have the arable land that we can invest or give loan or give sustenance to grow. That is my vision, where security is not for the privileged, but for everybody, where you can freely be who you are, where a son or a child of nobody can dream and dream to say, one day I can be a governor. Where you can believe in your ability, not in Godfatherism or not in opportunity of entitlement, but in your ability and God-given right to stand as a man or a woman to say, I, Chief Daniel Egongo Akwemoka Matthews, will run and successfully win the nomination and become the governor of Edo State. Not because of anything else, because I'm proud Asa man, regardless.
Okay, well, this is only the 5th month. Are we? No. This is just the 4th month.
Yes.
And the election is coming in 2024.
That's right.
Well, Edo is your passion. It's not a
my
personal passion. Edo is your passion. And whether or not this government is doing well is subject to where you stand.
Absolutely.
Whether it is your party or not your party and all that. But before the 2024, which... as you pray, you might take the reins, or someone else might take the reins. What would you advise the present administration to do to finish strong and good?
I have no better advice for the present governor or any other governor that have come before. One of the things is we in Edo people, we respect our elders. I respect Obaseki. It's not for my party. I personally don't know him. I know he's doing his best. Rather than us criticizing what he hasn't done right or passing disparaging judgment.
What can he, at least from now, what else can he do?
One thing I would like him to do is to make sure the next election is done successfully and respecting the rule of law, the rule of INEC, and the rule governing election. Let us have fair election, at least the basic. Another thing he can do is to also help Edo people in regards to general welfare. At least before it goes, create a welfare state that support the widows that support children, public health care that support widows and children. It can do that now. It can start that. Why people like me can come in and build on it. We know we need more roads. We know we need the road fixed. We know we need a lot more things, but something you can readily do now. Create a welfare state for widows and children, most especially in the public sector. Most especially in the public sector.
Why is that there's so much need for that?
There's so much need for the welfare state in terms of the public health in Edo State. One of the dangerous things is people self-medicate. Not only self-medicate, people go through the traditional, which is good. I believe in that as well. The self-medication is causing a lot of death. And people, childbearing, for instance, is astronomical in Edo State, even though we have a burgeoning youth level. Provide a social care for age appropriate, anybody under 18 to have a public health care. People who are widowed, people who are old, to have a public health care. They have access to public health care. He can do that. He has the power, the means, the resources to do that. Right now, if that's only the thing left for him to do, just create that public social welfare. Where back in the days where children used to have free immunization. When I was growing up, I had free immunization. All my immunization was free. Now it's no longer in existence. Immunization from polio to fever to everything. People die needlessly of fever, malaria fever that has been eradicated because those free immunization we used to have growing up as a kid don't exist anymore. He can start that now and say free immunization from malaria, from polio, from every other those transmittable disease. He can do that. He can look at widows. He can look at older people who are dying endlessly for no reason because they don't have the proper care, or their kids have grown, they moved far away from home, and they don't have the necessary care to sustain them. Support charitable organization that is doing widow's mites. That's giving this, what I call the soup kitchen, where we give old people free food, homeless people free food. He can do that. The governor can do that right now. It doesn't need massive legislation. It doesn't need massive money to do that. He can do that. He can lay that foundation for people like me to come in and build on.
Okay, well, when we're talking about governance in Nigeria, one of the things that really is worrisome to a lot of us, is a lot of people, Nigerians, including me, is the issue of continuity. A lot of times people come into office and the first thing is to rubbish every blessed thing that the previous administration has done. And I mean, an administration cannot be 100% bad,
Absolutely.
no matter what.
That's right.
So if you were, by God's grace, to take the reins of leadership in Edo State, what are some of the things you think this administration has done that you can build on?
You see, everything they've done, like I said earlier, I said, I'm a Edo man, we don't insult our elders. So, and as well as the
Just the ones that you think.
Yeah, I would, everything the present administration have done, I would build on. I would try to advance it. One of the things I know they've done very well is, as bad as the road system are right now, they're working immensely to improve it. And one of the things they're also working on is trying to capitalize the economy. And I don't think they actually have a clear pathway or clear understanding on how to go about that. One of the other things they're doing in Edo State is the drainage system. They've actually building some drainage system because we have a flooding problem in Edo State. And they're building a drainage system in Edo State. They're also building a water gathering place. You understand? That is something I can build on. You understand? I would not rubbish any past administration because their challenges differ from the administration to administration. But what I know for a fact is build on what they've had and work on those areas they struggled. I won't say failed, but struggled. Improve on the area they struggled with, and also bring in a community sense of responsibility. Put everything you do in the hands of the community. Let it be community-owned driven. That way the rapid level of growth, advancement, development will be faster because it's not driven from the top, but it's driven from the bottom up, not from the top down.
Okay. So, well, at this point, we'll just wish you a very, wish you luck in your endeavors. And like you say, God has blessed you and you've never put your hands and failed in anything. We hope that this will come. But we are interested in the Edo people.
Absolutely.
We're not interested in you. Unless you are interested in Edo people and giving Edo people the life that they need. That's what governance is about. And I'm hoping that the new crop of politicians will deviate a little bit from winner-takes-all kind of politics.
Absolutely.
So how inclusive should you be the person to take the reins will your government be as a final thing?
Good. I would like to just address the Edo people out there, both home and in the diaspora. Like I said, my name is Chief Daniel Egongwan Matthews. I know this might be the first time some of you have seen me. My background is in public health and education and public health and funding. I've worked in different areas and I traveled the world. I'm currently setting up a social enterprise organization in Lagos, in Nigeria. My interest is your interest. I'm a son of a father whose generation has very little to nothing. My grandfather was a farmer, lived within the village. He has nothing but his pride, his identity, Papa Akwemoka. My dad is one of the first few generations that left Edo State, came to Lagos, established himself, become an honorable man, a deeper life man, a religious man. And my father went to school, technical school, raised 10 kids. I'm 5 out of 10, unfortunately. My mom is late. One of my sisters is late. So I have a passion.
You've still not told us how inclusive it will be.
No, I have a passion for the development and growth of Edo State. My very goal is to look at Edo State from the bottom up. When I say inclusive, like I've said, I will not separate any Edo person because of their political affiliation or their party affiliation or their leaning. An Edo person is an Edo person. If I happen to be the governor, the moment I swore in, the party identity is immediately dropped for one united Edo people. So I will work with every Edo person, regardless the party, regardless the tribe, regardless the language, regardless the community, regardless even the local government. I will not be the kind of Edo governor that will favor one local government because they support Labour and disadvantage the other local government because they don't support Labour or support the party I lean to. Every Edo person from the bottom up. My approach will be bottom-up approach to my policy, to my governance, to my approach in leadership. Bottom-up, not top-down. That will be the premises of my inclusion to becoming a governor of Edo State. Okay. And I want to assure you, me, Chief Daniel Egongo Akumokan Matthews, will put you first in every decision I make. Edo people first.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you. I wanted to hold you, to just talk generally, but I couldn't hold you.
Apologies.
But it's fine. It's fine. We're hoping that you will come back someday and say, hey, I have finally become the governor.
Amen.
But if that happens, please let Edo and its people be your priority. Not party, not you,
Absolutely.
Nothing else. That's the agenda. We will keep saying this because we in the media are the ones that get the knocks, like we're not holding you to be accountable to what you do. But whoever takes the reign of leadership in Edo State, for today, you are saying you are the one. Another person might come here and say they are the ones. But we are interested in Edo, and we hope that they get the best leader in whoever will come up. Daniel Egongo Matthews, Labour Party governorship hopeful. Thank you for being a part of our program.
I'll give you my words today that I will put Edo people first.
Amen to that.
Guaranteed. I'm a man of my word.
Okay. We've been talking with Daniel Egongo Matthew, the Labour Party governorship hopeful in Edo State. It's been enlightening, telling us the problems of Edo State and how to solve them, at least some of the problems that are in public glare. And we're hoping that one day we can ask the one who eventually takes the reign of leadership in Edo State the relevant questions that need to be answered. That is what is lacking in our political space. You don't get to ask the questions because there's no opportunity. But we hope that with the political climate nowadays, we can always do that. We'd like to say thank you to Daniel Matthews for coming on the show. Thank you so
very much for having me. It's a great privilege and honor.
All right, until we do it again at the same time tomorrow, my name is Nyamgul Agaji on behalf of the entire team saying thanks for being there. Bye for now.
Hi there, my name is Abimbola Obasoye Nishokweju. Nothing is as nostalgic as remembering your childhood memories. And here is my good old days story. I was born and grew up in Ladipo Estate, a small community tucked in between Oshodi and Shogunle. Those years, Ladipo Estate was a secluded developing area and part of what old islanders referred to as Oshudioko. Life in the estate was very, very quiet, lonely, but peaceful. I am the fourth in a large family of Chief John Singbolahan Shokweju, an entrepreneur who built his first mansion in Ladipo Estate in the early 60s at the age of 29 and has a street named after him. What a record. He was one of the early settlers of Ladipo Estate, who impacted the community with social amenities. Till date, life in Ladipo Estate is beautiful and peaceful compared to the adjoining areas. The early landlords and families were a formidable team that protected the sanity of the community. Each family knew one another, and strange faces were easily detected with background check done by the host landlord. The bond was so strong among families that every parent is your parent, and you dare not cross the Rubicon. There were no recreational facilities, but at Christmas time in Ladikbo Estate, the children organized candlelight visits and moved round one family house to another to render beautiful Christmas songs. The children are given gifts by the host families. Interestingly, I did not start school on time. In our time, it was still not out of fashion to be asked to put our hands across our heads to make sure they touch our ears before we could qualify for admission. I made just an attempt at registration and qualified because I was of age. I was extremely happy that I was eventually starting school. Daily school lessons and admission into top secondary schools were coordinated by one teacher, Mr. Adeogun, who also doubles as parents' encyclopedia in terms of adequate information about go-to schools for proper child development and the ones to avoid. Many became A students because of Mr. Adeogun's tutelage. Now to secondary school, I had to leave my comfort zone in Lagos to school in Abeokuta. I recorded a lot of firsts through my sojourn in Abeokuta. It was my first time of seeing a flowing stream. It was equally my first time of washing in the stream. It was my first time of seeing hunters with their hunting dogs, and first time of seeing farmlands and big Iroko trees. All these were no big deal to those who grew up in the village. However, this opportunity afforded me the privilege of identifying with my Egba roots, removing that tag, Egba abroad, off me. Long holidays were opportunities to catch up on school tales, especially with those of us who were in the boarding house. Each family knew one another and could easily share food and partying. The adult parents and landlord learned to enjoy each other's company through visitation. These were indeed good old days when everything seemed to be working as planned. Those days were called good because the present cannot be called great. I stopped to think, at what point did we miss it? At what point did we start experiencing a turnaround in the fortunes of this great nation of ours? At what point did we start developing mutual suspicion against each other? When did trust take flight in our lives? What happened to those good old days communal living? If we can identify the roots of our challenges, then they are half solved. Then there are high hopes of changing the narrative. Our children certainly deserve a brighter future, full of hopes, and not gory tales of a very scary future. You and I must therefore walk the talk by ensuring we right the wrongs, starting from our nuclear families. Great morals can never go out of fashion. Let's start from home. To this end, I support Sashimo Rebadejo in this collective drive towards changing the narrative by pushing the story that a better and greater tomorrow is not only possible, but achievable. Thank you.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Chinelo Anene and I'm joined by my amazing co-anchor today, Unoma, who saved the day, by the way. Hi Unoma, how you doing?
Hi Chinelo, how you doing?
I'm well.
It's just us in the building today,
just
isn't
two of us, just the two of us, like we'll see.
Oh boy.
But yeah, it's been quite a day for me. I'm not feeling too well. Cold. I think there's something in the air.
I
right?
did feel, earlier in the week, I've been struggling. I struggled on Sunday, I struggled on Monday and Tuesday. It's today that I'm feeling slightly better. But yeah, like you said, there's probably something in the air.
I think so too. Okay, yes. You know who is not in the studio? She won't be in the studio for a while. So yeah, I'm going to be your amiable host for the next couple of days. I'm happy to do so, and I hope we'll have a lovely time as always. Okay, so here's what we found as today's quotes. It's time to end the brain drain and move to brain gain. It's time for a great mind of Nigeria to return home. You are the mind we need, doctor. And this is by Deji Olukotsun. When I saw this, I was like, okay, well, true, because I remember yesterday, or day before yesterday rather, my mom called. She was supposed to go to the hospital for her routine checkup and whatnot. And then she called me at night. And
there were no doctors.
There was no doctor to attend to her. You know, it has never hit home like that before. I was like, really? She said, they said all the doctors are not available. That the one doctor that they kept calling said he's not coming. And I was like, wow. Now this is serious.
Well, I've almost hit rock bottom. That's what it is now.
Anyway,
it's scary.
As you may already know, a bill seeking to curb brain drain by mandating Nigerian medical doctors to practice for at least 5 years in the country before going abroad has passed for second reading in the House of Representatives. The proposed legislation titled Bill for an Act to Amend the Medical and Dental Practitioners Act, Cap M379, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to mandate any Nigeria-trained medical or dental practitioner to practice in Nigeria for a minimum of 5 years before being granted a full license by the council in order to make quality health services available to Nigeria, was sponsored by Honorable Ganiyu Johnson. Today, we have Dr. Johnson Babajide Oriyomi and Dr. Safina Aldo here to discuss the brain drain and why doctors are leaving Nigeria. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. You are still watching Ways. The International Day of Human Space Flight is observed annually on April 12th to commemorate the beginning of human space exploration and acknowledge the significant contribution of space science and technology in achieving the peaceful use of outer space. The United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution on April 7, 2011, designating April 12th as the International Day of Human Space Flight. This day is dedicated to honoring the first human to orbit the Earth, a Russian cosmonaut, on April 12th, 1961. Fun fact, I've always wanted to be an astronaut.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to be able to travel into space, you know, wear the whole space suit and all of that. But yeah, all those dreams now
I had two phobias. The fear of height and the fear of driving. I overcame the fear of driving. But the fear of flight is still there. It's still there. Talkers of the space. I mean, I would love to experience it. Just seeing movies and pictures that depict space, you're like, wow, it just humbles you, let alone when you find yourself in that environment. I mean, I don't know how I'll feel. I already feel some form of euphoria on Earth.
Right?
I don't know how I'd feel.
I want to know what it would feel like
when I'll be out there.
You know, where there's no gravity and then you just have your space
float.
You float.
You my heart will float with it. I don't know. My heart will probably fly away or something. But yeah, it would be so surreal.
Yes.
It would be so surreal.
Okay, what did you find for us in the news today?
Well, not as enigmatic as space and all, but Google technology company released a search trend data in Nigeria for the first quarter. So some of the things that people have been searching online, Google search, in the first quarter, well, no surprise there. But it covered various searches from artists, Nigerian artists, to politicians,
of course.
events, and activities, among others. So some of the top trending questions were like, when is, how to, and all. But some of the people who were most trending in searches that were done online were Peter Obi, number one, Tinubu, number two, Mudrik, Christian Atiku, Enzo Fernandez, Simon Ekpa, Victor Siemens, Sheyi Vibes. Yeah, and then some of the songs that were sought after were Who Is Your Guy, Ruga, Carry Me Go, So, Stability, Reach Till I Die. You know, just interesting very. Yeah. And then Tobechukwu by Mercy Chinwo. I was glad for that. And then some of the other top searches were things like INEC, of course, P2B, CBN with the issue of the Naira and all of that. Yeah, iRev portal, Atiku, of course, the politicians were there. Right, so it was just interesting today. I said, away from all of the politics, away from all of this bad news coming up every single day. Let's just be at peace for one day. yes. So that was it. It was quite interesting. I just decided to share that.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so well, mine is not. I wouldn't say it's interesting. It's hopeful, but I hope that this time it is actually for real. Federal government approved 6 billion naira for maintenance of Third Mainland Bridge. You see, this one is. I don't know.
Just to cut you a little bit short there. Whenever I hear these releases, I'm not excited. I'm not excited because why do we wait till last minute to just be seen to be doing something when these were things that should have been planned for and executed at the proper time? So because we are exiting now, let's just be seen to, we released 300 and something billion to education. Now we're releasing this for Third Mainland and then to buy tractors or whatever that probably were in existence before then. I mean, we need to move from this sort of governance to actually planned governance, so that people can, and like yesterday when we were talking about leadership, so that people can see direction in where we're going. This is the plan. Even when I'm not there, there is a plan. And we can continue to make progress with that plan.
I mean, for me, it's not even, it's more of, okay, so now you're saying that you're releasing 6 billion naira for maintenance of that road. I can bet you, Norma, that we'll go back to that road in July.
But we know.
And it's still going to be
we know. The last time they did some maintenance and then you went to, did you not experience, did the potholes that were there not say, hello,
the like same we're still by
here.
The way.
We're still here, if not more.
God help us in this country. And that's why today we're now talking about why the doctors are actually leaving this country. Because I mean, I wouldn't blame anyone, right? It's quite it's an appalling situation that a country that's supposed to be as blessed as Nigeria is actually undergoing this kind of times. But like some people would say, we're just going through this trying times, and then things will get better. Well, so we hope. Anyway, when we come back from our break, we'll actually have our guests in the studio with us. See you after the break.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. From the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, right? No question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event
on Plus TV. Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Thank you for staying with us. Brain drain, otherwise known as JACPA, is a slang term that indicates a substantial emigration or migration of individuals. A brain drain can result from turmoil within a nation, the existence of favorable professional opportunities in other countries, or a desire to seek a higher standard of living. The chairman of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, Uche Roland, gave a keynote presentation at a symposium to discuss recent brain drain in Nigeria's health sector and its implications on health service delivery, where he said that the official statistics show that as of 2019, Nigeria's doctors to patients ratio is at 1 to 4,900. He said this number has increased as the country continues to lose medical practitioners to developed countries and that Nigeria is in dire need of health workers. He further added that from 1963 to date, Nigeria produced only 93,000 doctors, which is inadequate to cater for the general population. Research among health workers show that the UK and the United States of America are the top 2 destinations for Nigerian medical doctors to seek work opportunities, with 93% and 83% respectively. The real question is, what is the root cause of the brain drain and why are doctors and health workers leaving Nigeria? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 08180384663. You could also tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow. This topic, normal. Anyway, Dr. Johnson Babajide Oriyomi is an award-winning medical practitioner who bagged his medical degree from the prestigious Lagos State University College of Medicine, Ikeja. Dr. Johnson is currently the Director of Clinical and Occupational Health Services at Citron Health, a subsidiary of Ambulance Nigeria, an organization dedicated to quality occupational health and emergency care across Africa. Also, we have Dr. Safina, who is a Nigerian medical doctor in the UK, living in a town called Chesterfield, Derbyshire. She had worked for 7 years as a senior medical officer in family medicine and then oncology in Lasut, Lagos, Nigeria, before relocating to the UK. She's currently wrapping up her general practice training in the UK to work as a GP. She's passionate about medicine, humanity, and passionate about Nigeria as well. So I'm glad that we have 2 doctors speaking to us today about this JACPA of doctors.
I did mention on Monday, I didn't even know that Wednesday we were going to. I said we need the doctors to come in to tell us how they're feeling, because up until now we've been talking about, this is a major epidemic going on in Nigeria. What is going on, and how are the people who are directly involved, how are they feeling about it? So I'm really glad that I was here, to have this conversation. It's really painful, Chinelo. I took a story on Monday that said we have about 11,055 Nigerian trained doctors currently in the UK. Imagine that number in UK alone. You're not talking about all the other countries, Canada, all of them. So it's something that we need to discuss.
Anyway, Dr. Johnson is glad to have you here.
Johnson is drinking water.
At least thank God that we have him here.
Absolutely. We have Dr. Safina, who is going to check the diaspora angle to it
and tell us why this is actually happening. Hello, Dr. Safina. Welcome to the show today.
Hello, thanks for having me on as well. Thank you. Like you said, this is a topic that's quite close to my heart. I'm quite passionate about it. So, looking forward to engaging on this. Absolutely.
Okay, so first things first. Let's start from here. I remember Dr. Johnson was saying something before we came on. He said 95% of your classmates have now left the country. So let me start from there. Why is this?
All right, so for me, I think the first root cause is the financial remuneration that comes with practicing medicine in Nigeria. All right, I think it's really bad. The economic power compared to the buying price in the market is not that power. And like they say, you cannot carry your license to go and buy plantain in the market. Sure, you need to eat, you need to feed the family, you need to rent the house, and that really for most people is not working. But if you go abroad, you can, make enough to meet your basic needs, stuff that are just basic. I think second for me will also be, and I think for most people is the fact that they don't have, so you have the skills, you've learned, you're passionate about this medicine, but you get into where you need to work, there are no equipments to work with, all right? So you want to save this life,
like
but you don't have exactly. Your hands are literally tied because you can't do what you know how to do. You know, and that for most people can be saddening and depressing. You know, so most people just say, instead of me staying here where my skills I cannot use it as much as I want to, let me just go to where I have all the equipment that I need and I can save as much life as possible. And I think thirdly is going to be the issue of insecurity. You know, and when I say insecurity, it's not things happening at the north, it's even within the hospital setting. You know, there are stories of patient relatives stabbing doctors, beating doctors up. I've seen doctors being beaten up by patient relatives before. You know, the doctor now became the patient, you know, just because he was trying to save a life, you know. So I think for those three things, at least from my experience, are the top three reasons why people are really
doctors are leaving. Okay, so Dr. Safina, let me hear from you. Why do you think why do you think this exodus is happening in the country?
Okay, so like Dr. Johnson said, you know, the first thing is that financial remuneration. If it's not there, you know, there's a limit to how long any individual, no matter how nice or how humane you think you are, you know, you can continue to remain in an environment where you feel that, you know, you don't feel well remunerated for your skills, you know. So no matter, the truth is, a lot of us went into medicine, we're passionate about medicine, we're passionate about helping people. In quotes, you're a nice person because you want to help, you know, sick people. But somehow when you're placed in an environment where you're seeing a lot of people die, you're seeing a lot of people, you know, not get access to medical care because they can't afford it. You know, again, 95% of people in Nigeria pay out of pocket for healthcare, which is very, very unsustainable in no matter how, you know, developed the country is. So you're watching people die. You're watching people die because they can't afford drugs. You're watching people die because they can't afford to pay for, you know, hospital bills, admission costs, operation costs. And, you know, so there's a limit to how much you can take. And after a while, it does it gets to you as an individual, it gets depressing. And you just start to say, okay, where else can I work where I'll be well supported, I'll be well paid, and I get to see medicine being practiced, you know, in a standard manner as it should be. Okay, so yes, it's a lot of factors, but definitely the finances, both on the side of the healthcare professionals and even seeing our fellow loved ones, you know, the people in the population we're serving, you know, seeing them die, seeing them not be able to get the right. I mean, to think that people are still dying because they can't afford hospital bills of 50K, 100K, and it's ridiculous. And then now, comparing it to a system, of course, healthcare systems are different, but comparing it to a healthcare system where, you know, someone complains of headache and they've literally done a CT scan and MRI and without paying a penny from your pocket, it's you know, like I said, it's only a matter of time before you start to say, no, this is in a way absolutely ridiculous, and in medicine should not be like this.
Okay.
Interesting that Dr. Safina brought this up, because I had a conversation with a friend with family this evening. She said she was having some headache and stuff, and I said, oh, have you been to the hospital? And she said yes, she was in the hospital, and she was asked to do a CT scan, and she was like, the money, because the out-of-pocket experience is no joke at all. When you see how people have to pay. That's why maybe people think that people don't consider their lives here in Nigeria, because when you think about just me alone having to spend all of this for healthcare, no, we have more dire needs to take care of, and that's what they concentrate on. And then you see people get to the point where it's so bad that, oh, we can't help this situation. And we don't have to live like that. And it still goes back to governance, being able to put in the right kind of structure. And I will always come back there, because like I was saying on Monday, I said, why is the government they put up a bill saying, oh, doctors must practice 5 years. And it took me back to when I was in the university. I had a lot of doctor friends. Currently, most of them are in Canada or in UK or in the US. And I have one in particular that says, Norma, nothing is going to bring me back to Nigeria for no reason. He has lost some family members who did not have any business dying the way they did. And he said, Norma, I'm not coming back to Nigeria because Nigeria has nothing to offer to me. And I'm asking myself, why hasn't the government had this conversation with the people who are, you're coming up with a bill. How does it affect the doctor? Do you think of that? Is that the best incentive to keep our doctors in Nigeria? So my question, to you, Dr. Safina, and also to Dr. Johnson is, what's the government not paying attention to when it comes to our medical space? What are they not paying attention to?
Okay, so
I can start with Dr. Safina, then we'll come back to you.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Norma. Like you rightly said, it's like, using a sledgehammer to kill an ant, or sometimes I even liken it to an abusive relationship where instead of the person to do what is right and make the partner stay, you decide to lock the doors and you say the partner should not escape. That's in no way does it make sense. So now, to answer your question about what the government can do, first off, if you want to keep people, at the end of the day, because what this has just shown is that everyone has autonomy. I can decide after I've stayed in my own country I can decide that I want to go somewhere else if I'm not being served, if if I don't feel fulfilled, as an individual, as a career person, So what can you, the government, do? I don't think it's right to now say you want to make me, or let me say my colleagues back home, sign a contract or some kind of bond. Absolutely, I don't think that still obtains, So what can you do instead? Of course, we call it softer skills or softer ways of, handling professionals or handling, institutions. First off, like everyone has said, salary is a major thing. Salary is a major thing. And of course, it also cuts across board, other professions, teachers, nurses, other healthcare professionals, the police. So yeah, we need a major overhaul when it comes to the salary structure in Nigeria. And of course, not just salaries. What are the conditions under which these people are working? How can you say you're working in an A&E? When I did a posting in A&E, I never saw a defibrillator.
Wow. I'm going to touch on that.
Please.
Oh my goodness.
Oh wow.
I never saw a defibrillator. And now having done A&E here, I'm like, he was just God. I was saving my license and saving, the patients that came in. Honestly, you're talking about doing ECGs for patients that come in with maybe cardiac chest pain, for example. Boy. That's basically a heart attack. And these are, my colleague and I were laughing the other day. You do one ECG, and that ECG can probably last a month. So that's a rhythm of the heart strip, a month or, a week. And then the next time the patient is coming to clinic, okay, you've looked at it, okay, it's fine. Or meanwhile, I'm now in a system where literally you're doing ECGs before we send the patient out of A&E.
You have to do it.
At least 2 ECGs.
Yeah.
And that's in the space of 4 hours alone. So, it's just amazing. That's why I said God really loves, Nigeria.
In fact, we're just surviving on God's grace in this country, to be honest.
Perhaps we can't take, the spiritual out of it because it's amazing, So, yeah, make the conditions right. Put the basic. You say you have a hospital. You say you have A&E. You say you have ambulances. Let them be well equipped. Look at standard. There are standard operating protocols everywhere. Not just in other professions. Even in medicine, there's a standard that should be in an ambulance. There's a standard. So even if you don't have it in Nigeria, they say we follow WHO. WHO is our standard. So go online, look at the standard. What is the appropriate thing that's supposed to be in an ambulance? What is supposed to be in an ear? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Don't just bamboozle everybody and say you've opened a hospital or you're a government hospital.
Like the one in New York.
Exactly. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. But yeah, and of course, I'm quite keen to hear what my colleague has to say as well.
Oh yes, okay. We're waiting for Dr. Johnson.
So I think I'll start from what the government should have done. All right. So when it comes to policy making in healthcare, there are two strategies: push and pull. All right. The strategy, the best thing to do is to use the push strategy, not the push like they've done. So push means, oh, we are going to lock you in Nigeria for the next 5 years. You cannot go anywhere.
But Nigerians always find a way.
Yeah, exactly. But the pull is, get the incentives in place, increase remuneration, put strategies in place that will want to make people stay without you even saying so. That is what they should have done. And when we say incentive, interestingly, research has shown that most workers or employees, as it were, it's not really about the salary in itself. It's about the benefits that comes with working. The Imagine Hazard fee before was 5,000. They've increased it to 32,000. If you get pricked by a needle of someone that has hepatitis B, immunoglobulin in Nigeria is about 120,000. Oh my goodness. Compared to the 32,000 that's just giving. So what is the hazard fee doing? All right, and I've seen doctors suffer this kind of problem before. When I was doing my house job back then at the government hospital, it happened to a colleague of mine. Thank God for one kind-hearted consultant that bailed him out. Even though the guy would have been jumping up and down with, infectious disease and all. And then the crop of it for me is getting the right equipment in place in those hospitals. Like she said, what they do is they buy the one AED for the whole hospital. They will not keep it. When it's time for audits, they will now make it so that they will now say, you guys have it. They will now put it back. But the AED is supposed to be in the area, the airport, everywhere, train station, and like I said, SOP should be everywhere. These are the issues. They are not trained in most government hospital healthcare workers are not trained in basic life support skills, advanced cardiac life support skills, which is abroad. It's prerequisite, the standard. You have to know how to do these things, and it's just so the right training, giving them the right training, the right equipment, and then remuneration and incentive is just the right way to go. Pull and then don't push
instead
people
of
away.
pushing.
And interestingly, their policy is just a joke because the UN says there's a rule in the UN that says that every human being has the right to seek
medical
welfare in a better country if you have the capacity to do that.
Thank you.
All right, so
thank you.
Policy for 5 years is just it doesn't fly anywhere globally.
Okay, I like where this conversation is going, but then let's quickly take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue from the conversation.
Hello and welcome to Space and Style, a property show designed to connect various stakeholders across the property value chain. We can also provide realistic solutions and deepen your knowledge about the interesting world of real estate. We shall showcase architectural design, interior design trends, lifestyle and real-time property news updates, and the right way to navigate through property development and investment. Join me every week on this channel as I take you through an exciting journey in the world of real estate.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
If you are just tuned in, we are discussing the topic brain drain, aka Japa, why doctors are leaving Nigeria, and we're discussing with Dr. Johnson Babajide Oriyomi and Dr. Safina Aldu. Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 08180384663 or Twitter to us at Weishu Africa 1 with the hashtag Weishu. We're talking about the NHS. I can't believe what my ears have heard today. Now, I actually understand because I have a friend who is a medical doctor and he's not practicing.
You wanted to say was.
Oh, actually was because he's no longer
practicing.
No, he's doing consultancy now with I don't know what they're called, some NGO thing like that in Abuja. That's what he does now. And anytime I ask him, he's like, please, I'd rather do this than practice medicine in this country. And I'm like, it really is that bad. Because think about it, you go to school for that long. You're in university for what, 5 years or 6 years?
Touch on that.
You do housemanship, you go through that whole rigorous process, you come out, and then at the end of the day, you are not remunerated
and now
rightly.
they're telling you 5 years.
if I'm the one, boy, I'm gonna leave. So I mean, I can completely understand where you're coming, but then I want to touch on that what you just said.
Okay, so what I was discussing at the back end was the NHIS scheme and how it's not really functional as it were, because the amount that the eventual hospital, because the way insurance works is you put money together and then when you get sick, you know, you go to an hospital and then they get paid.
Yes.
But the amount that these hospitals get paid to offer you care is not really what it is.
And how much is that amount?
So some is as low as 700, 800 naira. You know, that some of these hospitals gets paid. So imagine you going to access care at the private hospital and is it 100 naira they're paying? What would they give you? What quality of care do you expect? But the good thing is, and I must mention this, you know, because this initiative is doing well. The one that Lagos State government is doing, Ilera Eco initiative, is really, really amazing, you know. And I think that's the way to go. Instead of depending on a national health insurance scheme, let the states pick up their healthcare system and build it by themselves. You know, that's honestly the way to go.
But then why do we even have to wait for the states to pick it up? Why? I mean, yes, I can understand that, right? But then there's a reason there's also a national board across to be able to cover all of the country. So that doesn't, let's not create excuses for them and say, okay, because Lagos State is, no. The federal government should do something right about our healthcare system. And I like what Unoma has been saying. For everything she has said, it has always still come back to governance. True. And that's why we always talk about governance on the show, because
those are the people that we have to hold accountable.
Yes.
And if they don't know what to do, maybe we should let
tell
them know.
them.
So in that light from Chinelo, I wanted to ask, what needs to change in the healthcare system in Nigeria?
All right, so it's policy first, and then the allocation of the budget. The amount being allocated to healthcare in Nigeria is about 1.2 trillion, just about 5%, and the target should be at least 15%. So imagine, it can't really do much. And these things are driven by money, like it or not. All right, so imagine before it was about 4.7%. It was very horrible numbers, but now at least it's improving, but it's not there yet. So we need to allocate more money to the healthcare system, healthcare education, this basic stuff, compared to, you know, putting all the money in some people's salary, people in government salary, you know, and they take the bulk of the budget. Let this percentage come to healthcare. Second is policy, like you've been mentioning, and governance and all those things. Put the right policy in place where healthcare is concerned. Healthcare policy in Nigeria is nothing to write home about. You know, so we need to sit down, our policymakers come, have conversations around these things, you know, and then build the right policy that can help us move forward.
Okay. All right. Dr. Safina, we've heard from Dr. Johnson, who is in Nigeria, right? So now I want to ask you, you've seen how the healthcare system runs in the UK, right? How do you think we can implement that in Nigeria?
Okay. So what I would, you know, one of my recommendations, having, like you said, worked both home and now abroad, I'm a clinician, so meaning that, you know, I'm not in admin, I'm very patient facing, I deal with patients, okay? So aside all the things we mentioned, health policies, remuneration, I think also the culture of what I would like to call the senior colleagues, like those you met in the game, so to speak, you know, it also has a way on impacting those that are coming into the profession. I'll give you an example. For example, when I was doing my internship in Nigeria, I trained in Nigeria and, I did house job in Nigeria. So that's your internship period. You know, I remember literally starting on my first day at work and they were expecting me to know everything. I was expected to know, how to do this, how to take blood samples, how to see patients with chronic illnesses, how to see someone that has been macheted and all of that. And now that I've seen, you know, another healthcare system, I'm seeing that you can't, Rome was not built in a day. There's a reason why you're an intern. There's a reason why you're a junior doctor working under a consultant. So you have more experienced colleagues who are supposed to, you know, sort of show you the way, show you the ropes, allow you gradually develop or build yourself. But, you know, it's like you start up from 0 to 100 in Nigeria. You know, here you have something called a shadowing period. Literally any job you start, you know, in the UK, there is something called a shadowing period. So where you get to observe. So sometimes you might not even be seeing patients. You might not even, but it's just that gradual introduction. See how we do it before you come in, before you're allowed to start to do things. And not in a, not in a demeaning way, but more like you're new here. So we're not expecting you to know everything. So that's part of what I mean by the culture. Yeah. So, and then, of course, even things like, that's, so it's, you can't, I'm a big believer in the fact that you can't be better than the environment you're in, unfortunately. Okay. So in as much as you're trying your best, you're a hardworking doctor, you love people, you want to save the whole world, what is the structure that you found on ground? So I believe our senior colleagues have a role to play in this area. I don't think it's by doing policies and saying people should stay in the country. No, when we were, when it was our turn, when we were junior doctors, we were not even driving cars. You hear senior colleagues saying things like that. And I'm like, what's the meaning of that? We were not even driving cars. These young doctors, all they want to do is drive cars and look nice.
It's the mentality.
You're like, is that what we're talking about? Yeah, my supervisor, my clinical supervisor, like I said, I'm a clinician, so I see patients. My clinical supervisor will tell me, if he sees that the way I'm looking stressed, are you sure you don't want to take a day off? I said, hey, they're asking me if I want to take a day off. Because he will tell you, he will say that if you're not well, you can't see patients. Of course. If your mental and physical health is not all right, you can't now be giving what you don't have. So that's why I said the seniors have a large role to play. So I don't think it's by expecting people should stay automatically. No. You that has been in the game for a while, what are you doing for the younger colleagues? You understand? You see a younger colleague struggling. What are you doing? Are you just there expecting? I don't know how you want to do it, but when I come in the morning, 36 patients should have been clapped. 36 patients should have taken all the blood samples for 36, all those kind of, and, and so you just have, so I just feel that, yes, government has a role to play. Policies have to be in place, but even those senior colleagues in the profession, I think they have a big role to play as well.
Interesting. Let me add something here that some people, the reason why they decide to leave the country, why they just absolutely say I'm leaving, is because of some of their experiences with senior colleagues. Because in some places, exactly. Some places even borderline bullying.
Wow.
And it's really bad. Some people say, "Oh no, I cannot face this. I need to get out of here." Because so, I absolutely agree with that. Senior colleagues need to do better when it comes to mentorship and guiding.
In fact, the conversation just brought out two things for me, and these are things that I just continue to hammer on. If who I was here say, "Hey, madam, consideration," it's empathy.
Yeah.
And consideration again, because we don't put ourselves in the shoes of, it's easy for you to post a bill, it's easy for you to put out policies because they don't affect you directly. When it affects you, then if you have the heart of the people in mind in the first place, then you will put down policies and governance that will guide them in the direction of productivity.
If it was me, what I would have, the policy I would like to put in place is a policy that bans medical tourism for politicians.
Thank you.
And then a policy that now does the pull thing, which is improve the healthcare system in your country. All right, so I'll say don't go out of the country for the next 5 years, whether you get ill or not.
Okay, they won't.
And then let's now build the healthcare system. And let's say don't say doctors don't go. Yeah, you too don't go for medical tourism.
Funny enough, that was what I thought when I saw that. I was discussing with my parents, and I'm like, that's what I think. If you're saying that doctors shouldn't leave once they finish,
then you shouldn't leave for 5 years.
You shouldn't go to get
treated.
Why
in office?
Stay here. When the doctors were here, were they not still leaving to go get treated somewhere else? So now, what is it really? Anyway, now we've seen, we've seen what this has done or what this is doing to our healthcare system. Thank God for these doctors that we have with us today. They've also given us, or they've preferred some solutions. And you see this one that they talked about bullying and senior colleagues. I think that's a very big deal. It
because
is a very,
it's supposed to be
deal
mentorship, like Dr. Safina mentioned.
Which happens in every profession anyway. If you're new, you start from some sort of internship, right? And then you graduate to become whatever it is. Yeah. But there are people that should be able to guide you, people that have been there before, who should have your interests at heart, trying to leave a better legacy for you, right? But as it is, I think the reverse is the case in our dear country.
And if I might add very quickly, while Dr. Safina was talking, I was going to ask the question of what your experience was, but you had already talked a bit about it. But the bully part and seeing mentorship, I'm sure that was somewhat of a culture shock for you. Because here everything is hard and complicated, and then somebody said, oh, take a break. Oh, are you okay? You're like, huh? Really? I'm sure you were like wondering what's behind it.
Let me give you an example. So
you don't want them to think you're lazy. You're like, no, I can walk. I'm not lazy. Don't worry, I can do it. And they're like, no, there's a reason why you have, personal time off. There's a reason why you have sick leave. Use it. Because if you're not well, you cannot come and see patients. But the Nigerian in me was very keen to show that I could do it.
Absolutely.
So for me, I work with multinationals, and I had worked with guys from abroad.
Exactly.
And comparing, and what happened was immediately after my house job that I started this role. Okay. And just at the end of my house jobs, a doctor gave me an extension just because I was friends with somebody that she did not like, and she wrote it in the extension letter just like that, and said, you're going to do 1 extra month in this place, not paid, because you're allowing this boy influence you because you guys are friends. And she submitted it to the department. And nothing happened, so it's that bad. There are people that will tell you, when you go to them and say, I'm not feeling fine, they will ask her, are you feeling fine? That one will say, no, am I feeling fine? All of us, we are not feeling fine. So why are you telling me that I'm not feeling fine? So it's that bad. So imagine you getting into a multinational that has a doctor from the UK and is telling you, oh, why are you not taking the break? What are you still doing here by 5 o'clock? You're done for the day. Why are you still here? The shock is crazy.
And across all the multinationals that you've had to, that has been
the culture, process.
Okay, we've heard from the horses now. And now we know that we need to do better in this country. First of all, this bill of saying medical practitioners have to stay 5 years, no, it should be abolished. I don't think we can go through this at all. It's not going to work. Let me just put it that way. And like Dr. Johnson rightly said, instead of using the push method, I think we should start approaching it using the pull method. Start to create incentives, start to make the healthcare sector better, make the remuneration better, and see if these doctors wouldn't stay. I'm not sure they're happy being away from home anyway. It's just because
risking their lives.
Yeah, it's just because it seems like it's a better opportunity for them. But if you create this better opportunity in our dear country here, I'm very sure that they would stay. Anyway, thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, for joining us in the studio today. Dr. Safina, thank you as well. I'm sure that very soon we would come back to this, and I hope that it would be for a better purpose and not because we're still talking about this.
Because she's passionate, so she's going to bring back the passion.
We can't wait to hear her say, guess what, guys, I'm coming back to Nigeria. Okay, before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at Wayshow Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our social media engagements. And remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch us and follow us. If you missed today's quotes, here it is again. It's time to end the brain drain and move to brain gain. It's time for a great mind of Nigeria to return home. You are the mind we need, doctor. And this is by Deji Olukotun. See you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Bye.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
I was pushed to the point that I had to start something not numb. And I'm a big risk taker and I enjoy doing things that nobody really does. I wanted something different from every other art form that has been pushed out there. I didn't have that fulfillment in what I was doing and I really wanted to express myself more as an artist, and I decided to resign and go into practicing art full time. I loved subjects that had illustrations or drawings in them. I just kept pushing it and went to the extent of studying art in school, so it's been art all my life for me. I try to conceptualize what I want to create in my head. Even in as much as scattered as it might be, I create it in my head first, then I put it on paper. I sketch, then I try to pick colors, and I proceed to the main piece. A friend of mine told me, like, there's really nothing that could be achieved with graffiti here. The piece behind me is titled Bold Steps. So I'm just trying to put my own, it's an abstract journey of African fashion has come so far. The word there is Ikeakpa. Ikeakpa is a Bini word for movement. So we are it's just a movement, and we have the shoes here which shows the flow and the storm which the movement creates while working. I'm Osa 7. I'm an African urban artist and design consultant.
Now, we're going to be talking about social graces, etiquette, and ethics.
Yeah.
And one of the things that always puzzles me is when you talk about social graces and etiquette, people think, oh, it's for the high and mighty. But really, social graces, etiquette, and ethics hold the fabric of society together. Sure. It's about what are the rules we play by. How do we interact with each other? So welcome to TW Conversations. Back in a moment. Culture is a social construct, and social graces, etiquette, and ethics are also social constructs because they're part of culture. And so different cultures do different things differently, but there are certain fundamental basic rules of behavior that allow us to tolerate each other. Civility, for example. We must be civil. I don't have to like you. And so we're going to be talking about how do we interact with each other in a social context? How do we use the social graces, etiquette, and ethics, which is the moral rules by which we play, in order to make sure that we live in a society that accepts and tolerates everybody?
Manners maketh man.
I was sorry to interrupt that, just to show that was bad behavior. My question was going to be, I hope you all like me.
Manners maketh man, and often you hear that, and people wonder what does that mean, and they think it's only the uppity-nosed who have good manners. But then everybody likes to feel liked. Everybody wants to feel tolerated at least.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with showing that level of respect to each other. And often I would think about, when people talk about etiquette and all that, they tend to think table manners immediately.
Absolutely.
And I think, what about timekeeping?
Yes.
You go
timekeeping.
to timekeeping.
Yes.
It's so ill-mannered when people pay no attention to that.
Sorry, ladies, could it be something like African time? No.
I'm
just wondering.
This is
like
African
African
time.
time.
But that's why we're so badly behaved, because African time, who knows what time that is?
No
What
time.
time is it?
It's no time.
Yes.
You know?
But more people say, oh, you know, African time. Everything, when you're late in Africa, African time.
Yes.
You're late for a wedding, African time. I like the Catholic excuse because if you're late for your wedding,
Yes.
the priest will start.
They start immediately.
Yeah.
They start, so there's no African
so
time.
you reach your vows halfway.
Yes.
Well.
And that takes us into conduct as well, because how do we behave?
Yeah.
When you come to think about our ethics and social graces, how do we behave towards each other?
Yeah, go on.
The level of respect that we afford
Show each other.
each other.
Yes.
And
The-
it's in the little things. It's in how you end a phone conversation.
Yes.
You know, I call you, for example, and you say goodbye before you hang up. But then someone is...
Oh, I'm
But then
sorry.
even more
Guilty as
interest-
charged.
More interesting is the person who called you who should end the conversation, and not the other way.
But you see, this is the interesting thing.
Yeah.
We forget that we're all coming from different places. And so what social graces and etiquette and ethics help us do is to lay the foundation, the ground rules for how we interact.
Yeah.
We're coming from different places. We're different people. So if I don't know that to say good morning or to say thank you, that's common. We need to be able to say good morning, thank you, good afternoon.
That's the way we were raised now? Are the parents responsible?
Parents and
Excuse me,
society.
ladies. Okay.
We're importing a lot of different cultures,
Yeah.
and it's causing confusion. For example, our culture is to greet elders in a particular way.
Yes.
You won't say hi to an older person unless you're familiar with them. But other people will. And we're importing it, and it's not mixing very well, because we're then offending people, which takes us back to why are we even interested in social graces at all?
Well, I think we would have to define what social graces is because it's got to be one definition that cuts across every culture, every society. So it's like a universal language of the world. For example, love, respect, those are not things that you speak, but you can translate them in any culture, in any language. And what is that thing? How do you define social graces?
But then aren't there differences in it? Because the society has an influence on social graces.
Yes, true.
So coming into Nigeria, for instance, you'll find that there are certain cultures where it is expected that you curtsy when you greet an older person.
What happens in Ghana, darling?
We don't do that. But then we do have a way that we shake hands. So you must move.
Okay.
Yeah, you go from with your palm facing inward. So you can't go into a room and start greeting the opposite way. It seems to be disrespectful.
I greet you like this.
So when you walk into this room, you must greet with your palm facing.
Right
yes,
hand.
yes.
Oh, so I can only start from here.
Yes. You,
But isn't that etiquette, though?
you're back. You have to start from here.
Okay, sorry.
Always.
Greet everybody like
Yes.
that. Okay.
So you would greet me, then you would go to the next person. Your palm would always face that way.
But isn't that etiquette?
It is etiquette.
Because it's the rule as opposed to a social grace. So
Within
for
a
example,
cultural construct.
Yes. So I'm saying that a social grace is general,
Respect, yes.
what you're talking about. And then we have different etiquettes for different things that we do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
why are we talking about this anyway? Because it's important. Yes, it is.
Because I don't have to like you, but I must be civil to you.
Yes.
And I think that
I have to tolerate you.
We've lost some of that
We have.
in society
We've lost a lot
today.
of it, especially with the, pardon the expression, the Generation Y,
Absolutely.
the younger
And
generation.
Z.
Yeah, close to
And
them.
Z.
So, yes, you know, so we were raised in a certain way.
Yes.
So we know to do certain things, maybe up to the age of 39, 38.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, darling.
anything below that,
It
seems to be
I mean, I have
fading
sat-
away.
I recently was at a a birthday celebration of a much older aunt, and they're my Nigerian cousins. So as we sat around the table, one of my nieces turned up. And so she said, hi, uncle, hi, auntie. And she was, and I was sitting on the other side of the table and I was muttering to the hearing of those around me. And mind you, I'm not Nigerian, but I was muttering, she better check herself before she gets to me. I'll be waiting for her here. Believe you me, by the time the young lady got to me, because we're in a Yoruba setting, immediately she was on her knee, auntie, God will bless you. And I said, hey, you're not talking to me. In the setting, it was appropriate.
Yes.
And she needed to know that.
Right thing.
Because it's an 80-year-old's birthday. You don't come and, you know, kiss, hug.
Be familiar.
So all of those things are important.
Do you know what that story just showed? That when you have social graces, it opens doors. Because you warmed up to her. She came to you and said, oh,
Thank you.
Hi, Rosie.
Thank you. But I think that exactly
it
proves the point of why social graces are important. And then, how do we bring ethics?
I was just going to say that. Where's ethics in all
into
of this?
it? Because ethics, that's moral rules by which we play. Morality. So telling the truth.
But that's tougher
The
now.
idea of corruption.
Yes, it's tougher now. That's what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Because it's a regular thing to tell a lie first. Now, you have mothers who say, oh, Auntie Rosie calls me, tell her I'm not home.
And that's what you're teaching your children.
Yes, you're teaching your children.
Let me get back to my type. I don't know what Ifeoma wants to invite our guests to now. I'm not sure.
Tell her I just went around the corner.
Yeah.
It seems like such a small thing, but that child is training himself to do that.
We're going to take a break right now. Hold that thought. So, ladies, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're inviting a guest to talk about etiquette specifically.
Oh, nice.
Don't go away. Welcome back. I'd like to invite Amanda Amushong, who is the CEO of the Etiquette Avenue, to have a conversation with us. Amanda.
Hello, Amanda.
Hello. Hi. Welcome to the set.
Thank you.
Please sit.
That's a good place to start. At least kissing our husbands. Is it Africa?
Oh, yes. It's part of social graces, actually. You know, some people do 3 kisses. And some do
French
2.
too.
Yes, the French do 3, some do 2, some do just 1. Nigerians don't really do anything, but we've learned to do those things.
Yes.
So Amanda, you run etiquette programs.
Yes, that's correct.
What sort of things would we be looking at to know? What should we teach our children?
Okay, our children, that's great. Now, there's a lot of competition out there in the world, and we want our children to be able to compete with the children from the rest of the world. So it's no longer Kike versus Nkechi. It's now like Kike versus Ming Li from China. So the question is, and the thing we ask is, so can our children compete with children from the rest of the world? So yes, and we now speak a global language. So some of the things we need to teach them so it stays with them. Table manners. You know, little things that are fast eroding, like, you know, I'm sure a parent to say, oh, elbows off the table. You know, you don't have your elbows off the table. You sit upright. Yes. That's.
Yes. Can I ask a question? Then?
Yes, certainly.
What sort of things did any of you do, you know, what boo-boos did you make when you were growing up? We all make social graces mistakes. There must be, like, I sometimes hit my teeth with a fork. And you said table manners. I remember, if I forget myself, you hear a chink, then I freeze straight away and I think, oh God, I hope nobody saw that. What sort of things did you do wrong yourself? Because these children you're talking about will do those things anyway too, even after being taught the proper things.
I think it's for me, the setting of cutlery. You know, you can put a spoon at the side, and you can also put it at the top. But you have to look to see the size of the spoon and figure out whether you're truly having soup or whether it's for dessert. Do you see what I'm saying? And so if you don't think about it in those terms, then you will use the wrong one because you're just thinking spoon. Any old spoon, let me just take a spoon.
No, but the honest truth is, growing up, I don't know, I guess there are very few families who would have like a proper dinner, sit down, dinner, sit at the table. If you did, then you probably would have learned a few things, you know, by now. But you would know that your soup spoon is to the right-hand side and your dessert, you know, spoon is at the top, you know. So little things like that. So if it was a practice when you were growing up, then certainly it will be a part of you, which is why we encourage parents to teach their children from when they're young, you know, so it stays with them.
Like that in the past, you know.
Yes, I did.
I'm sorry, you know, because I mean, it was from me, from when I learned that if you were going to eat, my daughter learned, I came to teach me, that you could
use the back of the fork.
Back of the fork to
as
eat.
opposed to just the...
And I was wondering, can you eat rice with the back of the fork?
That's a very good...
If you put meat on it and then put the rice on top of it. But more importantly, I think, in terms of etiquette, is how we sit, how we stand, how we walk, our comportment, you know, how we dress up.
She did that, and I did that as well.
But that always happens. When I talk about how people are sitting, I know everybody's sitting up straight, you know. But I even think that I try to put it in terms of you, yourself. I sit up straight because it's good for my back. So I'm not even doing it for etiquette. I'm doing it because it's good for my back. I don't want backache as an old person. You know, a lot of people complain about backache because they don't sit up straight. If there's a study called ergonomics, then certainly it must matter.
So if someone has no backache?
I don't have backache. So how do you teach posture? Do you teach them posture?
Yes, especially with children. You're supposed to be able to stand, you know, upright, chin up, because you notice when many people walk, even as adults, we walk, some people walk slouched, some people walk looking down, you know, and it takes away the elegance, especially, you know, for ladies. It takes away something, you know, from you. So you just shoulders back, square your shoulders, and, you know, you do have
big...
No, but
you know, it can be...
You will do the needful.
Big
when
here.
I was younger, I was in secondary school, and a lot of my seniors who were 2-3 years my senior didn't have, you know, bosoms. And they would keep saying, look at you, you're chesting out, why are you walking like this? And it made me start slouching.
Okay.
So that's how I started slouching, yes,
well, you have
for
to
so long.
yourself.
So so I'm still, you know,
My
and
mom
then...
used to give us a mop stick. If you slouch, she would make you walk around the house with your hands hooked over. Yes, because she walked in the airways. So they would make them walk a plank with books on their head.
I was just going to say that with books,
and
you know?
a mop stick.
Yes.
So they walk with high heels on the plank with books, about 3 or 4 books on their head.
Wow.
And that's, so my mom she's 76 and she sits like this.
So this is good for you.
Yes.
But is it offensive to people looking at you slouching and looking at you just walking and behaving anyhow? Because really, that's what it's about. You can do whatever you like by yourself, but how it impacts on other people is really the reason why social graces, etiquette, and ethics matter.
Yeah, that's a brilliant way to put it, because the key word with etiquette is consideration. So how does my behavior affect the people around me? So if I go out as a lady, you know, everyone is pleasant, it's a nice gathering of women, and I'm walking and I'm dragging my feet. It's almost, if we're going out as a group, why is there someone in the group who has chosen this day to embarrass us all? You know, so the thing is, they might know and they might not. So the honest truth is, where does it start from? It has to start from somewhere. So when the children are young, you start teaching them. So little things like elbows off the table, little things like sit up, little things like
don't drag your feet.
Little things like, you know, for the ladies, sit with your legs closed, even when you're wearing trousers, please. You know, and then you stress it, please.
Your knees. No, but why though?
Habits.
Why? I mean,
now,
you can't see.
The practice.
Mostly, yes. When I
These
went out,
days,
I
that's
sit
what
like that.
Generation Y people do.
No,
they sit however they like.
We don't always do that, though.
But you feel that everything has to be how I feel like at the moment. So, for example, I might want to sit right now with one leg on this chair, and I'll simply tuck one leg under the, you know, and just be comfortable, because the people watching feel more comfortable with all of us looking natural and happy.
But then natural and happy.
How does it tell on other people? No, there's a setting for everything. So I guess if you're with your buddies, you know, of course you put your feet up and have a good chat. But then if you're invited to dinner and it was a formal dinner, you would have to know how to comport yourself.
Exactly. Yes,
or
in context,
even when you're at a cocktail party, because I still see people invite you for cocktails and you go in their chairs. And you're thinking, but the cocktail party doesn't have chairs. And they say, oh, but there's some old people. And suddenly have the roomers sitting down.
But that brings me to socializing, though. Socializing as a matter of good manners. What it is that we may be social, we don't necessarily socialize well. Because to socialize means you can talk to people, whoever it is, whether you know them or not. And that's something that is taught. It's a social grace.
I didn't get that. That was right over my head now. It's a social and not socialize well. How can you be social and not socialize well?
You like going to parties, but you only sit with people you know.
You know.
Oh, that's what it is.
And if you socialize well, you can talk to anybody, sit anywhere. You don't have to go with anybody to a party because you know that whatever happens, there's someone you can talk to.
So is this an art that can be taught? I wonder.
It's would I say yes? Some people think etiquette, you know, if I was social graces, is an art. And you have to be mindful because it's not a case of I don't feel like.
Yes.
It is what is expected of you. You know, so like you mentioned, socialize, you go to a function, you don't want to just sit with people that you know.
What's the first thing you should tell somebody that you don't know at all?
No. You say hello and you introduce yourself.
Yes. But it might even start because something happened. And see, that's really fun, isn't it? You know, because something just happened, both of you are there, and something funny happens. And that's an opening. But it's not a mistake that English people talk about the weather, really. Which is what Rosie and I were talking about. It's an icebreaker. It's about icebreakers. It's about icebreakers. You know?
You see, women do that easily. I was on a program once and we talked about women. Two of you could sit down and in 5 minutes you know your old boyfriend, your first kiss, whatever. But you could have two men sit down
these days,
for
women
10
are very competitive.
minutes and not speak to each other at
But they do.
all.
But it's about socializing. They can talk about football because I don't know a man who doesn't like football.
Sure.
And if he doesn't like football, he
I know
likes
a man
boxing.
who doesn't
Okay,
like
fine.
football.
He doesn't like football, he likes boxing. Or he wants
Doesn't like
thinking
sports
about
at all.
how to get to the next rung of the ladder in his office.
Okay.
You know?
That is the bit that we're losing because there's an art of banal chit-chat.
There is, absolutely.
Now, we're not teaching anyone the art of banal chit-chat. We go into a gathering and we go to our friends. And so we don't improve and grow our networks. So if you're not growing your social network, you're also taking away from yourself a lot of opportunity. So we do need to pay attention to the art of banal chit-chat because then you can meet someone. And the first question is, what do you do? It's not what do you do for a living. That should not be the question.
Tell me, though, I'm very curious about this. I'm honest here.
But you know the best thing to do is actually to go to the bathroom and do that.
Yes. But they're teaching people to do this in...
so that you don't see the teeth. But you see, you really should just manage yourself and choose yourself
They
and
won't
go
give us
somewhere.
toothpicks at parties.
No, but you see...
But who gives it to you?
The thing is, when you do this, I still know what you're doing. I just need to imagine what you're doing, and it's still not pleasant.
Yes.
You know, so whether I don't see the food, I know what you're doing. So like she said, like Ifoma said, the best thing is to excuse yourself and go to the bathroom. But
the reason
also...
why you cover it is because you know it's
but your
not
hair
pleasant.
doesn't make it invisible. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
You know it's not pleasant. That's why you're conscious enough to do that. So you don't get up and do it on the table.
But I don't put toothpicks on my table. So
that's the
thing.
Yes.
Toothpicks on the table.
Yes.
I don't use toothpicks anyway. I use dental floss. I have to get up and go.
Yes, you have to get up. But you see, if you were dining formally, for example, there's a time when, unless it's absolutely necessary, where you're allowed to get up and excuse yourself and go to the bathroom. There's a time, and that's usually at the relaxed session of the function. And okay, go ahead.
She's in class.
You get to dinner with vegetable stuck on your teeth.
You use
it until
you.
You might not know. Hello, you might not know. Okay. Well, true, but the thing is,
but you know something. The truth of the matter is this. In terms of social graces, etiquette, and ethics, we're trying to create a society where each one of us can live happily and at peace, where our idiosyncrasies are ours and they're tolerated, but where we also recognize that other people are different from us and that they need to be tolerated, and where we create a platform that allows all of us to interact. And for me, that's the essence of social graces, etiquette, and ethics, the idea of it. Otherwise, we'll live in a state of anarchy. If I don't like you, I can come and put my finger in your eye. It's not allowed. If I don't like you, I can just ignore you and not greet you when I walk in. It's not allowed. But we're doing a lot of those things. So is the 21st century destroying the fabric of society by not paying attention to these things? And I think it's something that all of us need to go away and think about. I think we need to learn to bring up our children in the things that matter, which is living peaceably with other people. Understanding that it's not about us. It's about us and other people together in society.
So would you say, Ifoma, sorry to cut you there, Rosie. So would you say, Ifoma, that you're wondering how relevant are social graces in the 21st century?
I'm wondering whether people pay attention to it, yes.
But if I may say, when you bring in the ethics part of it,
yes.
We tend to respect, we've let money take over quite a lot of things that we should pay attention to.
Money and material.
It's not generation.
No, it's not generational.
It's not about the generation at all.
Yes.
It's simply about what we've chosen to respect.
Yes.
And therefore, we allow people to ride roughshod over anything. We still respect them.
Absolutely.
We still want to kowtow to them because you don't know how you're going to use that person in your life in the future. So you give up all the things around respect, proper respect, genuine respect, about integrity, trustworthiness. All of that seems to have been thrown away to the point of, what can he do to help me? Or what can she do to help me?
It's a very selfish thought.
And
well,
what can this person do
for
me?
Say, Amanda.
No, I was going to say, I strongly believe, as a proponent of etiquette, that if we could have that ingrained in the average person in our society, I think Nigeria would turn around. I do not.
Politicians.
I was going to say we make a lot of noise by saying things like corruption. Corruption is Nigeria's downfall. I just think just simple behavior. Don't litter the streets. I once had a driver that we were in a bit of traffic and he bought something which I thought was not right because it was rude. You didn't take permission. He takes the window down, he buys something, he opens it up quickly. He knew the price, so he just popped the money outside quickly, collected it, no change. It was pretty quick. And the next thing, he eats what he's bought and then takes the window down, out. It goes. And immediately I said, why would you do that? He just said, they will clean it.
Who's the they?
Good question. He said they would clean it. On another occasion, he takes me to a supermarket. I come out and I see he's thrown something in the gutter. And when I got into the car, I was thinking, okay, you're going to get a mouthful from me. So I got into the car and I said, why did you do that? I said, you see, you know how it is when drivers, take their buses, they park their cars and they all congregate and have a chat. And they were all there and they were sitting around this pool of mess. And then I said, you know what's going to happen? In 2 weeks, it's going to rain. The gutters are going to get, blocked. And then mosquitoes are going to come and breed. And next minute, when we come back to the supermarket, you're going to go, and when I ask you what's wrong with you, you will tell me, oh, mosquitoes. A week after that, oh, I'm not coming to work. Why? I have malaria. And then when it's a tough strain, 2 weeks later, you say, oh, no, someone in my village is doing me. When you're not feeling better.
But I think that what I like, sorry to interrupt you, is to go back to what you said about teaching everyone the importance. They think it's for those of us who are educated, that the ones who are concerned, they don't see how it affects them. And as long as all of us don't learn that, we'll have a problem. We'll continue to have a problem.
Teach it. I would never forget war against indiscipline. I was old enough to know if you didn't line up and one of the army boys saw you, you would frog jump in the middle of CMS.
But that was introduced, and then...
But even as early as, that's the earliest time I can remember discipline in Nigeria. After that, it's a function of discipline.
Remember I said something about culture?
Yes.
Sadly, we're going to have to round up this conversation. But I think what I want to leave the viewers with is, think about it. Think about the importance of social graces, etiquette, and ethics in your daily life. And make a point of noting the things that help you to live well with other people. I wish we could have spoken longer, but anyway, it was lovely to have. Yes, I really enjoyed the conversation because it's at the heart of what our problems are in Nigeria. So thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you, Amanda.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. I think
what I would like to know, for example, is your driver. Did he change eventually?
Yes, because...
So is he more respectful of... Because we fight all the time,
He doesn't work for me anymore. But the thing is, when you have staff and they leave you, you have to have left something with them.
Yes.
You know, you one or two things that they take and was like, oh, that woman, her trouble is too much. But, you know.
I love that. My madam, no for agree, tolerate this one. No.
Yes.
No for agree.
You know, and then, like you said something very, very important, that I think that we should include everyone. Yes. But the problem is, who takes it to everyone? The misconception that etiquette is just for the classes, you know, that's been the misconception.
Yes.
So they just think, oh, it's about eating with your knife and fork and your pinky, you know, sticking out, and then.
You have run out of the show, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay. So
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
An African girl somewhere is sitting at home, accompanied by dreams that seem so far away. Africa is one of the continents with the highest out-of-school percentage in education, and girls are at an early disadvantage. The sub-Saharan Africa records about 18 million out-of-school girls. This gender gap extends to the tech space with a projection of only a 33% global female workforce representation in tech firms for 2022. Let us help change the stories and numbers. Africa Agility's Project Train a Girl campaign is working to help train African girls in tech. You can donate as little as $2 or 2,000 naira to help a girl in tech get her heels in the door. Visit www.africaagility.rallyup.com/PTAG to donate.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
On Plus TV News now. Several construction workers fear trapped in a 7-story collapsed building in Banana Island, Lagos. UK immigration officials arrest and detain Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi over alleged impersonation. Federal government will install 495 million naira baggage scanners for railway stations. Ten African migrants found dead after boat sank off Tunisia. Hello, good evening to you. I am Kimberly Ubiabo. This is News Now. An undisclosed number of construction workers. A 7-story building in Banana Island area of Lagos has collapsed, leaving a few construction workers injured. This is according to the Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Engineer Tayo Bamoshe Martins, and he said the building was an unapproved 7-floor building. He mentioned that the incident happened while casting was being done. He has visited the site to assess the situation and flag off investigation. Now, the Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council, LPPCC, has disclosed that the party's presidential candidate, Peter Obi, was detained and interrogated for hours by immigration officials at Heathrow Airport, London, over offences allegedly committed by an imposter. The Campaign Council, in a statement signed by head of media of the Obi Dati, Diron Onifade, raised an alarm stating that the imposter of Obi, who is still at large, may commit various crimes that would lead to the arrest of Peter Obi in the United Kingdom. The statement revealed that the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, who is in court challenging the outcome of the February 25th presidential election in Nigeria, was arrested at the Heathrow Airport for duplication. The National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Senator Samuel Anyanwu, has emerged the People's Democratic Party governorship candidate for the November 11 Imo State governorship election. This followed the PDP's primary held on Wednesday at the party's state secretariat in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Anyanwu is expected to challenge the re-election of Governor Hope Uzodinma of the All Progressives Congress. The Supreme Court had sacked Ihedioha as the governor of Imo State in January 2020 after 7 months in office. Off-cycle governorship elections are expected to be held in Bayelsa, Kogi and Imo States on November 11, 2023.
I know there's a task ahead, and I intend to show that by the special grace of God and the support of Imo people, this task will be achieved. I live here in Imo State. All my political life is here in Imo State. Like I said, Imo people know me and I know them. We have only one achievement: to bring back peace, to bring security back in this state. And that we're going to do with the help of others. It's not just me. I'm just going to be the driver of the vehicle. And I have others that will be occupants that will support me in this task. Okay, we know. First of all, all of you stay here in this state. One, for us to achieve and develop the state, there must be peace. First of all, have to secure the state. Our major point is to secure the state. To be able to revamp the economy, we are going to invest in the youths, and we are going to carry along the people in our decision making.
Doyadiri, the governor of Bayelsa State, has been declared as the People's Democratic Party flag bearer for the upcoming governorship election scheduled for November 11, 2023. The announcement was made by Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State, who served as the chief returning officer for the party's governorship primaries. Adeleke announced that Diri emerged victorious with 305 votes out of 315 delegates who were present at the Gabriel Okara Cultural Center in Yenagoa, the capital of Bayelsa State.
The only aspirant as the only candidate. It could only be the understanding within the party that we want our party to go back to its foundational days. In this state, when you covet that nomination of the PDP, it's as good as you have been elected in whichever office. And I think that what you have done today is taking us back to the foundational days of the PDP in Bayelsa State. It is therefore with this utmost joy and a very grateful heart to all of us in the People's Democratic Party, the leaders, the followers, and all alike, I do accept your nomination as the candidate.
The Niger State Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has revealed that all arrangements are set for the conduct of supplementary elections for the State House of Assembly seats in 15 polling units of 4 local government areas. The Resident Electoral Commissioner, Ahmed Yushau Gariki, made this known at a stakeholder meeting at the INEC headquarters in Mina, the state capital. The supplementary election is set to hold on Saturday, 15th April 2023.
We have done a very good job, but we should also acknowledge where there are some pockets of problems here and there. We will also look at it critically and try to see how we can, if not eradicate it all, to minimize so that this supplementary election at the end of the day, it will be better off than the one that we did.
The ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, has adopted the direct mode of primary for the conduct of the governorship primary election in Kogi State on Saturday. The party initially announced an indirect primary based on the request of the State Working Committee, but was reversed following protests by aspirants and party stakeholders who faulted the delegates list forwarded to the party's national headquarters, alleging that the process for compiling the list was questionable. Correspondents gathered that the party, through the acting national chairman, Senator Abubakar Kyari, has informed the Independent National Electoral Commission and the 17 aspirants of its decision to adopt the direct mode. A federal high court in Abuja has voided the February 7, 2023 list of delegates submitted to INEC by the APC in Kogi State for its forthcoming governorship primary election. Justice James Omotosho, in a judgment, held that there was no evidence before the court to show that valid special ward congresses were held from which the said delegates emerged. Justice Omotosho also noted that the party failed to provide credible evidence that INEC monitored the said Congress or Congresses from which the names on delegate list were derived. The judge who restrained INEC from accepting and acting on the delegates list said the APC in Kogi State still has an opportunity with the existing time frame to conduct valid special ward Congresses to elect delegates who will elect the party's candidate for the governorship election.
The APC in Kogi State ought to have conducted special world congresses to elect delegates that will eventually elect the party's candidates for the governorship election, but none was conducted at all at any ward. And it was those that our clients approached the court to say, look, there was nothing, but they just saw a purported list submitted, and that the list should be set aside. And the court granted it, and even warned that the days of impunity, political impunity, are gone forever, and it will not be tolerated, and advised the parties to go and conduct congresses prior to the nomination of their candidates.
We are in court to strengthen democracy at the state level, to entrench rule of law and internal democracy. And we thank God that the party has seen the fact of the case from our own ends and has given a judgment that is favorable to every party. And we appreciate all the members of the party at the state level and the leaders who supported us in the course of this struggle. Our case is not against an individual or anybody, but is to fight for the right thing to be done within the party and avoid some of the avoidable mistakes that cost us so much in other states such as Zamfara, Rivers State, and of late even Nasarawa State. And we also thank the leadership of the party, because the last time I met with the National Working Committee, presided over by the national chairman, I told you, we discussed as to what can be done to bring justice to the parties in the state. And we said, no, the only thing to be done is to do direct primaries. And if you must continue with indirect primaries, then you must do delegate election, Congress, that will show up legitimate, Congress. And he assured me that he was going to ensure that we do direct primaries.
The All Progressives Congress APC has asked the Kano Governorship Election Petition Tribunal to declare the March 18 election in the state inconclusive. The party is challenging the declaration of Alhaji Alba Kabir Yusuf of the New Nigeria People's Party (NNPP) as the winner of the election by INEC. In a 5-volume petition filed dated April 9, the APC alleged that Kabir Yusuf of the NNPP was not qualified to contest the election on the grounds that his name was not on the list of members of NNPP sent to INEC. The party prayed the tribunal in the alternative to declare the election as inconclusive, alleging that the margin of lead was not more than the votes cancelled. Ahead of the supplementary elections slated for 15th April 2023, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) and the police in Kano State have assured of a peaceful and rancor-free poll. This was made known in a stakeholders meeting with the police, civil society, political party representatives and the media at the headquarters of INEC earlier today. Ambassador Abdul Zango, the Kano resident electoral commissioner of Kano State, while assuring a free and fair election, said incidents of violence is the reason supplementary elections will be conducted in the state. He pleaded with political parties and their supporters to eschew all forms of violence and seek redress through legal means if unsatisfied with the results. On his part, Mazu Mohammed, the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of operations, warned all political party supporters and those planning to cause violence to desist or face the full wrath of the law.
Election is an abnormality, is an aberration in democracy, and we are determined to change that narrative for Kano. And inshallah, on Saturday, we will do this election, we will declare the full results, and no more, no less. And anybody who feels not satisfied, he has the right to seek redress through legal means. Please continue to believe have confidence in the process. We will do justice. We will be there. We will provide the enabling environment for everybody to feel and accommodated. We will conduct free, fair, credible elections. We want you to believe that we will do that.
As we make massive deployments, I'm sorry to say, so also political parties will make massive deployments. Political talks. We are ready for them. I swear. We will not be taken for granted.
The ruling All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party are now mounting pressure on the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) ahead of Saturday's April 15 governorship rerun election in Adamawa State. The supporters of the two political parties thrown into the INEC office in Yola, demanding for credible and acceptable polls at the end of the exercise. Speaking on behalf of the APC demonstrators, Mr. Smart Edward, the Supreme Leader of Native Worldwide, called on Adamawa Electoral Resident Commissioner not to be partisan, but should summon courage that people's votes count. All the speakers expressed confidence that their preferable candidate emerged victorious at the end of the exercise.
We have come to INEC office here to affirm that Binani has a date with history. Binani has been chosen by Almighty God to lead, and no form of blackmail should be used against a woman going into politics. We are all sons and daughters born of women.
Of people be truncated.
to see voters' opinions become relegated to just the dustbin. Impossible. I thank you all for taking this bold step. This is what democracy needs. People stand up, enforce their rights, insist on it, and people, institutions like INEC, make sure that things are done in a proper way, dispassionate way, and in this instance, the PDP is the winner in Adamawa.
The elections haven't been declared inconclusive, and a supplementary election has been fixed. It is obvious that different interest groups, particularly political parties, will continue to make demands. And these demands have been expressed in form of peaceful procession.
Now, Honorable Mariam Onoha has urged the federal government to declare a state of emergency on the dwindling number of women in the Parliament for Equity and Inclusivity. The lawmaker, who is representing Okigwe North in Imo State, made a call in Abuja today, Wednesday, during her declaration of interest for the office of Speaker of the 10th Legislative Assembly. She says her emergence as Speaker will usher in a pragmatic solution to the current challenges of national cohesion. She added that Nigeria's protocol list can no longer be taken without the female gender on it, while appealing to her fellow male contestants to step down for her.
Something drastic, something deliberate has to be done to ensure that the number of women participation in politics is increased. We are all aware that the last election witnessed low turnout. Low turnout owing to the fact, partly, that women who largely control the votes might have been cut out, owing to the fact that there is poor inducement of their fellow women to vote. And even with the small numbers that came out, over 60% of the voters have been proved to be women. How best and how best can this teeming Nigerian female voters be rewarded, if not by electing a woman on the presiding seat of the National Assembly and the House of Representatives in particular?
Honorable Onoha went on to reel out a 7-point agenda for the 10th National Assembly under her watch, which includes the digitization of activities of Rules and Business Committee, improvement of the legislative policy action to promote the interests of women and vulnerable groups, among others. She assured that her emergence will create opportunities for National Assembly stakeholders' engagement to provide access for public participation in lawmaking.
It is not possible for a man to speak for us on issues that bother women when we have credible and qualified women like myself. I am ranking. I am also of the All Progressives Congress. I qualify and I suitably am able to oust all the men on this contest. And like you are aware, in almost all, about 90 positions of this country, the men have dominated it. Ceding this one position to me will be a way of proving that we are running an inclusive government. And
Governor Ifeanyi Okowa of Delta State has called that local government administration remained an integral part of the nation's democracy in view of its pivotal role in grassroots development. Okowa stated this while inaugurating some projects, including the legislative complex at Oshimili South Local Government Council, Asaba, the state capital. Our Asaba correspondent, Akpomedero Friday, reported that Okowa, who pointed out that Asaba as a capital territory was becoming the fastest growing in terms of developments across the nation, said efforts at peace building have helped in its development.
Also glad that you have environmental marshals. You quoted the number of 240 of them that you have engaged to help ensure cleanliness. We also have the Capital Territory Development Agency as in charge with the mitigation and development of the Asaba Capital Territory, working also along with the Environmental Board. And there's a Waste Management Board. And I believe that with this development stride, because cleanliness is part of development. It's not just about government being able to bring development by providing the enabling environment. We have also tended to, through our efforts at peace building, to attract a lot of people from other states to Asaba and the Capital Territory.
On his part, the chairman of the council, Obi Kelvin, said that the legislative chamber was conceived and built to provide a conducive working environment for councillors in the local government. He added that the legislative chamber was named after Dr. Mariam Babangida in recognition of the pioneering role she played in the empowerment of rural women in the country.
Member of the House, no councillor had an office. Most of them stay under the tree to perform their official duties. It's against this backdrop that we decided to create a conducive working environment to enable our legislators make good law for the good people of Oshimili South by providing a befitting space and friendly working environment for them. The legislature is an arm of local government and deserves a befitting complex, especially as Oshimili South is the mother of all councils.
Elsewhere, troops of the air components of Operation Well Punch of the Nigerian Air Force have killed several bandits during an airstrike in Beningweri, local government area of Kaduna State. The bandits were said to be attacking Sabon Layu village in Beningweri, local government area on Wednesday when they were engaged and neutralized by the troops who rushed into the area following a distress call. The Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arawan, disclosed that the bandits were shooting, rustling cattle, looting properties, and committing other heinous crimes, a situation which had residents scampering for safety. Meanwhile, troops of the 23 Armored Brigade, Yola, have arrested a kidnapping kingpin, Salihu Ibrahim, and 24 other suspects operating within the northern and southern parts of the country. Addressing a press conference in Yola, Brigadier General Mohammed Jibrin Gambo explained that the suspected kingpin has been on the force watch list for the past 3 years, adding that the suspect has been identified as the mastermind behind most of the kidnappings in the area and even in the southern parts of the country. A submachine gun with 5 rounds of 9mm ammunition and a Beretta pistol were recovered. Millions of naira paid as ransom by the victims of abductors were also recovered during the raid.
We have maintained an offensive posture, conducting several kinetic operations in the forms of raid operations on criminal hideouts, rescue operations, cordon and search, stop and search, as well as patrols, amongst others. This has led to several operational successes, such as the arrest of 22 syndicates of kidnappers, some with AK-47 rifles, others with locally made weapons, while some good number of them with cash amount ranging to millions of naira, which they collected from their victims as ransom. A kidnapping kingpin named Salihu Ibrahim was arrested with a submachine gun with 5 rounds of 9mm ammunition and a Beretta pistol, following a raid operation at Maiha.
The Western Naval Command organized a farewell parade in honor of the outgoing flag officer commanding Rear Admiral Yakubu Wambai at the NNS Beechcraft Parade Ground. Also, in continuation of standard and professionalism, the outgoing FOC extended the continuity of baton to the new flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Rear Admiral Joseph Akpan, in the usual handing over of command event.
The major challenge we have is logistics, because it does not come easy. I have a ship that takes about 600,000 liters of AGU. One ship. Check that and see how many tankers you are talking about. It does not last more than maybe 14 days at sea. So if we are to do that, we have almost 3-4 of that. And then the smaller vessels. So you can see that the logistics required to continue to be at sea is quite. So all I will tell him is that he must be methodical in ensuring that little efforts to get maximum effect.
Plenty of them may not have the opportunity to hold this particular rank. It's on that ground that I wish to thank the Almighty God for this rare opportunity. If I say I didn't dream about it, I'll be telling you a lie. And for the dream to come true, it's only God that can do it. And then for leadership, I will always say, work at your level, but think at a higher level. So it's something I've thought about, I've played in my mind, what if, what if? And I want to thank God for making this dream come true.
The Lagos State Police Commissioner Ido Owuhoa has appealed to the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkalibaba, to continue to give special consideration in his reward program to officers serving in Lagos State. He made the appeal when he decorated 36 newly promoted senior officers with their ranks at the State Police Command Headquarters in Ikeja, Lagos. Plus TV News correspondent Love Ikuku Oyedokun files in this report.
It is the occasion of the decoration of the newly promoted officers of the Lagos Command and presentation of checks to next of kin of deceased police officers. Having served dedicatedly and committedly, these 36 officers are now being recognized and rewarded. The Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Idowu Owuhoa, commended the officers for their diligence to duty, which he said earned them the elevation.
Those virtues that got you promoted, as you resume and enjoy the privileges of your new status, don't let those values depart from you. Because at the end of the day, you will be judged by your capacity to hand the new rank.
The Lagos CP noted that police officers in Lagos State are most resilient, dealing with the most complex set of crimes in the country.
So in appreciating the IG for what has been done today, we also want to appeal to him to continue to give a special consideration in his reward program for the Nigerian Police Force to Lagos State. This can be done through the sustenance, the instruments of promotions. It could also be done through other reward systems that will make an average Lagos police officer know that he's been appreciated for the great job that he or she is doing for this nation in Lagos State.
In their separate remarks, the Commissioner of Police Railway Command, Yetunde Longe, and the Archbishop of Lagos Anglican Communion, Archbishop Ephraim Ademowo, charged the officers to brace up for the new task ahead.
To whom much is given, much is expected. They normally say it is good, the higher you go, the cooler it becomes, but not so in the Nigerian Police Force. The reward for hard work is more hard work. You have to continue to work hard. Much is expected of you now that you are in that cadre that I will call the management team of the command. So you should live up to expectation, be professional in whatever you are going to do, and God will continue to reward you.
Seeing a man diligent in his work, he will stand before kings and not before mean men. The same thing applies to seeing a woman, a lady, diligent in her work. He's going to stand tall anywhere. I want to beg of you to put in your very best.
Speaking with newsmen, some of the promoted officers thanked CP Owuhoa for the elevation and promised to redouble their efforts in the discharge of their duties.
Oh, this will give me a very strong vigor to do my job, to deliver more than I'll be doing. You know the name Commissioner of Police, you know what it means. I'm now a Commissioner of Police. You know I'm spoiled to do better in the job, more work.
Earlier, CP Owuhoa disclosed that the welfare and promotion scheme represents a critical component of the agenda and leadership vision of the Inspector General of Police. Love Ikuku Oyedokun, Plus TV News.
The federal government on Wednesday approved 6.3 billion naira for surface maintenance of the Third Mainland Bridge, Lagos State. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, who briefed State House correspondents after this week's Federal Executive Council meeting at the Presidential Villa, said the 24-month repair will cover 11 kilometers, including interchanges, ramps, and critical links. He said the move aligns with Executive Order 11, signed by President Muhammadu Buhari in April 2022, which gave legal backing to the country's national maintenance policy.
For the maintenance of the pavement of the Third Mainland Bridge, and this was approved in the sum of 6,278,063,585 naira 58 kobo for a period of 24 months. This is in consonance with the Executive Order 11 signed by Mr. President for the continued maintenance of public infrastructure.
The Minister of State for Transportation, Ademola Adegroye, has disclosed that the federal government will procure as well as install baggage scanners in train stations traversing Abuja, Kaduna, Kano cities. Adegroye revealed this to newsmen on Wednesday on the outcome of the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo at the State House, Abuja. He stated that the devices were necessary because of the need to enhance security, lives, and property in the aforementioned railway facilities. Rebel fighting reported near Congolese city of Goma. Details when we return.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
Easy.
Thank you for staying with us. To other parts of Africa, there are reports from the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo of fighting involving M23 rebels near the city of Goma. This week, the rebels have been withdrawing from towns they had seized in recent months. This has brought hope that a peace agreement would see an end to the violence, which has displaced more than 750,000 people in North Kivu province. Militia, who have been fighting alongside the Congolese army, appear to be provoking the M22 by attacking. Elsewhere, a Ugandan cabinet minister charged over a scandal involving the theft of thousands of metal roofing sheets has been denied bail for a second time. A magistrate at the anti-corruption court ruled that the sureties offered up by Mary Gorati Kitutu lawyers were not sufficient. Mrs. Kitutu was remanded in custody last Thursday after pleading not guilty to corruption over 14,500 corrugated iron sheets intended for vulnerable communities in the northeastern Karamoja region that went missing. At least 10 other senior government figures are alleged to have received some of the stolen metal sheets. This includes the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Parliamentary Speaker, and the other ministers. The Tunisian Coast Guard said Wednesday that 10 migrants from sub-Saharan Africa who were trying to reach Europe illegally died after their boat sank in the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of Tunisia. National Guard spokesman Houssem Djebabli told AFP 72 migrants were rescued and 10 bodies were recovered after the sinking of the boat on Tuesday, saying the dead were nationals of sub-Saharan African countries. The departures intensified after a speech on February 21 by Tunisian President Kais Saied, who denounced illegal immigration. Saied said the presence in Tunisia of herds of illegal immigrants from sub-Saharan Africa was a source of violence and crimes and a criminal enterprise aimed at changing the demographic composition of the country. Meanwhile, a Kenyan court hears a bid by Facebook's parent company, Meta, to stop a lawsuit accusing it, among other things, of exploitation and poor working conditions. Meta is seeking to have the case struck down, arguing that the local Employment and Labor Relations Court has no jurisdiction over it because it is neither based in nor trades in Kenya. In March, 43 moderators working at Facebook's Moderation Center in the East African nation announced that they filed a lawsuit against Meta, the platform's parent company, for unlawful dismissal. The 43 were part of over 260 moderators fired in January by SAMA, the outsourcing company that has run the office since 2019. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres said on Wednesday that Somalia is suffering from the impact of a climate crisis it has done almost nothing to create. This is as a full-blown famine threatens to follow a drought that killed 43,000 people last year. Details in this report.
Somalia is suffering from the impact of a climate crisis it has done almost nothing to create. That's according to United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres speaking on Wednesday, as a full-blown famine threatens to follow a drought that killed 43,000 people last year. Some 8.3 million Somalis, almost half the population, require urgent humanitarian assistance, Guterres said.
The 2023 humanitarian response plan, which seeks $2.6 billion US, is just 15% funded. When famine looms, this is totally unacceptable. The international community must step up and dramatically increase the volume of funds to support Somalia in this moment of difficulty.
He was speaking after visiting a camp in Baidoa, southwest Somalia, for people displaced by the drought and by fighting between Al-Shabaab, an Al-Qaeda affiliate, and government forces.
It is unconscionable that Somalis who have done almost nothing to create the climate crisis are suffering its terrible impact.
After 5 consecutive failed rainy seasons, the droughts displaced 1.4 million Somalis, with women and children making up 80% of them, he said. The Integrated Food Security Phase classification, which sets the global standard for determining the severity of a food crisis, said last December that famine had been temporarily averted, but warned the situation was getting.
Outside Africa, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on world leaders to respond after a video emerged apparently showing a Ukrainian soldier being beheaded by a Russian serviceman. Ukraine's SBU Security Service said it was investigating the war crime. The extremely graphic shows a man in military uniform wearing a yellow armband, frequently worn as identifying symbols by Ukrainian soldiers. The Kremlin said the authenticity had to be checked, as well as who was behind it. Meanwhile, the Kremlin on Wednesday said a video circulating on social media purporting to show the beheading of a Ukrainian soldier was awful and that its authenticity needs to be checked. The video, which has been heavily criticized by Ukraine, shows apparent Russian soldiers filming themselves beheading a Ukrainian captive with a knife. Reuters could not immediately verify the authenticity of the video shared on social media, which showed a man in uniform beheading a man who wears the yellow armband used by Ukrainian soldiers. Ukraine's Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov said on Wednesday that the alleged Pentagon document leaks contain a mixture of true and false information about his country's military. He also said he believed the leaks were a deliberate attempt to sow discord among Kyiv's allies, dismissing as not true suggestions in the Pentagon leaks that NATO special forces were operating inside Ukraine. United States officials are investigating who leaked the classified data as Ukrainian forces prepare for an unexpected counter-offensive to retake Russian-occupied territory. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov said on Wednesday the trove of documents might be fake and a deliberate attempt to mislead Moscow. The United States imposed sanctions on 3 top officials of the Russian-controlled International Investment Bank in Budapest after it said Hungary had ignored U.S. concerns raised over the opaque Kremlin platform. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Romania, and Slovakia ended their participation in the IIB. The Hungarian government took no measures against the bank, which moved operations to Budapest in 2019.
With this announcement, the United States is demonstrating that we will take action in response to Hungary's choices and to curb the access of Russia and sanctioned Russian persons to the international financial system. The fact that individuals associated with the IIB receive diplomatic passports and the immunities and privileges associated with those passports create the risk for espionage within a NATO ally and within the alliance. These are not issues that are optional to address, they're issues that are urgent to address.
Now, the United States President Joe Biden on Wednesday urged Northern Irish political leaders to restore their power-sharing government with the promise that scores of major U.S. corporations were ready to invest in the region as he marked the 25th anniversary of peace in Belfast. Biden, who is proud of his Irish heritage, spent over half a day in the UK region where he met with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak before travelling south to the Irish Republic for 2.5 days of speeches and meetings with officials and distant relatives.
As a friend, I hope it's not too presumptuous for me to say that I believe democratic institutions established through the Good Friday Agreement remain critical to the future of Northern Ireland. It's a decision for you to make, not for me to make. But it seems to me they're related. An effective, devolved government that reflects the people of Northern Ireland and is accountable to them. A government that works to find ways through hard problems together is going to draw even greater opportunity in this region. So I hope the Assembly and the Executive will soon be restored. That's a judgment for you to make, not me, but I hope it happens.
Former United States President Donald Trump has said if he is convicted of a crime, he will still run for president in 2024. He stated this during an interview on the Fox News Channel program Tucker Carlson tonight on Tuesday. Trump told Carlson days after he was arraigned in Manhattan court and charged with 34 felony counts of falsifying business records.
President Xi is a brilliant man. People ask me, how smart is she? I said, top of the line. You never met anybody smarter. How smart is Kim Jong-un? Top of the line. You know, people say, oh, this and that. He's a very smart Putin. Very smart. Now, he's had, in probably a bad year. Don't forget, that whole thing is not, if he took over all of Ukraine. And what are we going to do? Because Biden is so committed to Ukraine. What happens if it's a not winnable war? You know, there are people that say Ukraine cannot win, can't beat Russia.
Up next, federal government imposes 22 billion naira fine on oil firms over gas flaring. That's in business news after this short break.
And in business news, the federal government will impose $49 million, 22 billion naira fine on oil and gas flaring operating onshore for flaring 24 standard cubic outlet of gas valued at 40 billion naira, which is $86 million between January and February 2023. The National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency says companies operating onshore will pay the penalties for violating gas flaring rules. According to its data, these companies operating onshore fled 24.5 billion SCF of gas valued at $85.8 million, with $49 million penalties payable. Further report showed companies fled 19.14 billion SCF of gas in January and 14.04 billion SCF of gas in February 2023, contributing 1.3 million tons of carbon dioxide emission with power generation potential of 2,500 gigawatt hours. On the other hand, companies operating offshore fled 25.8 billion SCF of gas valued at $90 million, capable of generating 2,600 gigawatt hours of electricity and had equivalent of 1.4 million tons of carbon dioxide emission. In particular, the offshore companies fled 10.84 billion SCF and 13.09 billion SCF gas in January and February 2023, respectively. However, it did not state how much penalties offshore companies would pay for the flare. The International Monetary Fund, COP28 President-designate and UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance Minister have called for measures needed to accelerate climate action and finances. This was said during a roundtable meeting which had representatives from government, international financial institutions, development banks, philanthropic organizations, private financial institutions, committing to net zero. It is believed that climate change is one of the most critical microeconomic and financial policy challenges that the IMF members face in the coming decades. The Nigerian Customs Service, NCS Seme Area Command, has lamented the impact of prolonged border closure on revenue generation at the Seme border. Custom Area Controller Seme Command Controller Dira Nadi gave the figures during a media briefing of the first quarter of performance of the commands and handling of over a fake $6 million of economic and financial crimes commission, as well as handing over of other seized items to partner government agencies at the Seme Badagry air axis. Nadi also disclosed that the command made a seizure of 1,160 pieces of dead rats, 1,102 pieces of dead tiny birds, and 34 pieces of monkey skins and 14 parcels of cannabis sativa. Custom Area Controller of Seme Border gave the figure during a media briefing of the first quarter performance of the command and handing over a fake $6 million to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, amongst other items that have been seized at the border. Nigeria, Kenya, Ghana, and South Africa are four focus countries that will be accessing grants under the Impact Amplifier of $1 million African online safety fund. Impact Amplifier has sent out a call for application for the award of grants for the project, made possible with the support of Google.org. The fund will be awarding grants to organizations in Africa, but will focus on four primary categories or countries: Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa, that address one or more of the safety issues of internet facilities. In a statement, the company said there are three categories of funding, which include transformative, maturing, and catalytic. Transformative project is expected to attract a maximum grant of $50,000, maturing project up to $25,000, and catalytic project $10,000. Applications opened on March the 1st and would be received until April the 30th. Shortlisted applicants will be announced by the 31st and taken through the second stage of application process. The finalists will be known by July the 15th. Meanwhile, Russia, a non-member of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, and Nigeria, an OPEC member country, accounted for most of the oil production drop. Declines in Russian and Nigerian oil production accounted for 440,000 barrels per day. That is two-thirds of the last month's drop in OPEC's output, according to Energy Intelligence. OPEC producers saw the biggest decline in their collective production in 10 months, as output fell by 680,000 barrels per day to 37.64 million barrels per day. Meanwhile, oil prices rose about 2% yesterday, with support from a weaker dollar, and hopes that the Federal Reserve might ease up on its policy tightening after the United States inflation reports this week, though concerns remain over Chinese demand of Brent crude futures, which rose to $1.35 or 1.6% to $85.53 to a barrel. In the United States, West Texas Intermediate futures rose 1.75 to 2.2% to 81.49 barrel. The dollar weakened on hopes that the United States Federal Reserve is getting closer to ending its cycle of interest rate hikes, making dollar price oil cheaper for buyers holding other currencies. According to Energy Intelligence last month, oil production from OPEC group fell to the level last seen in May 2022, with the alliance of 2.5 million barrels per day below its targeted collective production quota. This is the latest gap between overall production and quota since October last year. And that's it on the business news. Many thanks for watching. I am Messi Bokwo. The news continues. Good evening.
Coming up is sport news.
The administration of Ibadan's Shooting Stars Sports Club has asked for patience and more support from the club's adoring followers. Following a meeting with the club's technical staff in which the team's recent performance was reviewed and plans for the upcoming games were discussed, the management requested more support and understanding from the fans. After the meeting with the technical crew on Tuesday morning, the club management made a point to inform their fans that the club would not relent in fighting for desired results. An apology was also made to their fans over the drawn game against Remo Stars last Sunday, promising to make up for it with good results in their subsequent matches. Samuel Chukwueze has been nominated for the La Liga Goal of the Week award. Chukwueze scored twice in Villarreal's 3-2 win over Real Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu last weekend. His second goal was chosen as one of three for the individual award. The Nigeria international dribbled past Madrid's defense before looping the ball into the net. Acuna Marcos of Sevilla, Fran Garcia of Rayo Vallecano, and Abdesamad Ezzalzouli of Osasuna are the other players nominated for the award. This season, the 23-year-old has 6 goals in 27 league appearances for the Yellow Submarine.
And the main news again. A 7-story building in Banana Island, Lagos, has collapsed. Government says there is no fatality. UK immigration officials arrest and detain Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi over alleged impersonation. Federal government to install 495 million naira baggage scanners in railway stations. Ten African migrants found dead after boat sank off Tunisia. That's the news now. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Kimberly Ubiebo. Many thanks for watching. Have a good night rest.
where does the energy of a nation, not country, of a nation lie? It lies in the youth. They are the ones with the energy to do anything. They are the ones with the energy, what we call the reckless abandon, to go and seek truth. What we have is not truth. We need to seek it. Now, fortunately, to seek truth, you need a minimum level of education. And I'm not referring to schooling. I'm referring to education. Now, if you look at the youth population between 18 and 40, right now, the unemployment and underemployment as reported by the National Bureau of Statistics for that age bracket is 50%. You have 10 youth standing. Half of them are either unemployed or underemployed. So all of that energy required for nation building is idle, doing nothing. And youthful energy never does nothing. It's either creating or it's destroying. And politicians have taken advantage of that idle energy. And in your opinion, are they building with it? I'm pledging to an existing entity. Now, what makes that entity exist as a relationship between me and them to make a pledge? The Constitution. So the country exists, the country pre-exists me. The Constitution pre-exists me.
The country is not 61 years old.
The country is not 61 years old. The country pre-exists me. The Constitution pre-exists me. So there's a Constitution, right, that pledges that the government will ensure my freedom in certain areas. It says we, the people, agree, but it tells you what the government will do for me, do with me, and do to me on certain conditions. So I become an adult, and I go through that document and say, wow, I have freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of expression. That's guaranteed. The government is going to uphold law and order. The government is going to protect my life and my property unconditionally. The government is going to provide me with justice, a system that ensures there's equity in the land. I go through that document based on the promise of government to me. Then I will pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful to what? To the Constitution, that you are already faithful to. So the sense is this: if the government breaks that trust, then you are breaking the basis of my pledge. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, based on the fact that the country has a document that also pledges to me.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.